Hello.
Hello.
It
I've
has been
invited
so
Dana.
long since I've seen you.
I know. We're currently connecting. Let's see how long it takes to go live. I'm gonna do my little trick over here and copy the chat from the last one so that we get hopefully all 296 of those names. What is
Holy
up,
shit.
everybody? Welcome. It is 5 o'clock Eastern, and this is the second part of our Banner and Backbone launch marathon, where we are going to be online on lives on Substack for 24 hours. Frederick Pogue just wrapped up the first 4 hour stint. I've got Nick Perro, the other founder, one of the other founders of Banner and Backbone, and the lovely Dana Dubois, my Gen Xe co-host, is joining us for the
Hi.
kickoff of this 4 hour stint. How are you both doing tonight? Today,
Well,
whatever time it
you've
is
heard
where you
from
are.
me, Dana. It's so good to see you. I'm doing great.
Thank you. It's good to be seen. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Good. I decided to take this operation outside because it's beautiful today. And look, I've got a Kira sitting here next to me.
Aw,
She's also a patriot. So seems
Puppy
like she'd want to
Patriots.
Beautiful.
We love the Puppy
seems
Patriots.
seems like she'd want to join for this historic launch. Yeah, it's nice being outside. Lawrence, both of you have spent time in Seattle. You know, these days are numbered when it's like, I'm outside in short sleeves. Plus, my kids are home and awake, and I was like, you don't need to be hearing all of this filling our house. I'll go outside. They're doing their own thing, and they've got, they like to listen to YouTubers in the background. So that's what they're doing. And I didn't want all that noise confusion. Anyways, I'm excited to be here. Can I ask a behind the scenes question of sorts?
Sure.
Yeah.
Did you just start a new live, or is this the same live that's continuing?
No, we started a new live. So we decided that we would break it up into 4 hour chunks. And so Frederick was the lead host for the first 4 hours, and
Okay.
I'm the lead host for the second 4 hours. And so every
Ah,
4 hours, we're switching off. So at, what is it, Nick? 9 p.m., you will take
Yeah.
over. And
okay.
Nick will be the lead host at 9, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Hi,
And
everybody.
yeah,
Welcome, everybody.
Gotcha.
That's starting to come on in.
Yeah,
Glad you're starting to come in again. I'm going to be a little quiet and I might be distracted looking for a second because I'm going to start blasting out from the Banner and Backbone channel itself the new link. So please come on in and I
I
invite your
love it.
friends, share the link, send
yeah.
it to everyone. Um, and as Frederick
Yeah,
said, one of the advantages of breaking this apart this way is we're going to get videos partway through the segments. About 30 minutes after each
yeah.
live ends, we get a recording, which means y'all may start seeing clips come out too from this morning's recording. And
Excellent.
getting
Yes,
them
we're
on
going.
different places in social media. So we're going to try and be expanding outside of Substack. Not really today. We've got a lot focused here. But Dana, welcome. It's so good to see you, my friend. I'm
Yeah.
glad you're with
Thank you.
us.
It's good to be here. It's an honor to be part of your launch. Wendy, yes, it is absolutely lovely here today. And this should have notified anyone. I'm still figuring out how the mystery of the live notifications happen. I think it will tell all of Gen Xe peeps, but then they should already be notified because of you, Lawrence. So I don't know. Hopefully it's notifying people that I'm live because I didn't post. This was sort of very recent that I was like, when can I join, Lawrence? How can I help?
Well,
So,
I appreciate you jumping in to help.
of
I
course,
knew that I could count on you. Um,
thank you.
I just want
After
to start
47 years.
right. 47 years. I'm pretty sure I can count on this fiery redhead Leo here to help me out. Let's just kind of frame everything up at the top
Okay.
of this segment, and
Yes.
so this is Banner and Backbone, right? Like you may recognize Dana and I together from our show in the morning, Gen X's, the Daily Whatever. But this is actually a different publication. Nick Perro and Frederick Pogue and myself have started Banner and Backbone to really kind of reclaim American patriotism, to focus on civics and teaching civics and educating people around how the American system is supposed to work, what American democracy is supposed to actually look like, and how it's supposed to function, and to start advocating for ways that people can engage and take action in this unbelievably fucked up time that we're living through, the second Trump presidency. And one of the big things that we wanted to do today was start with a focus on releasing the Epstein files, because as many people have really kind of come around to thinking, the releasing the Epstein files and understanding what is inside those files is the thing that could unlock this logjam that we're currently in, this stranglehold that Donald Trump has on American democracy, where he is betraying us with every action every day, and making a mockery of this 249-year-old experiment in American democracy, and getting us to the point where, if we are not living in an authoritarian, fascist authoritarian dictatorship, we are really fucking close. This is uh, how
Hey,
we get there.
hey,
Um,
Lawrence,
Yeah,
you posted in the last video, before we go any further, you posted in the last video the Latin for release the Epstein files. Can you repost that again for everybody in the chat? Because I'm going to be sending out, uh,
the
blasting out
Latin.
to people, because that one had a word in it that we all are really closely aligned to nowadays, which is pretty close to fascism, right? If I'm not wrong.
well, it sounds a lot like fascism, but remember it's Latin, and so I think there's
Yeah, it
probably
doesn't
some
mean the same, but
some root word stuff going on here. Hang on, let me pull it up again. Um, yeah, so it's divulgare fasciclos, nope, fasciculos Epstein. Um, if Morgan was here,
fasciculos.
fasciculos. So there's fasci, which looks like fascism, and
Hmm.
then culos, culos. Let's put it in the
Where
chat.
is where is Wendy the Druid, our favorite polyglot, when we need her?
Seriously, yeah. And the joke here is Frederick was
Hey,
referencing
Patricia.
Cato, the Roman senator who ended every speech with uh, Carthago et delendum, right? Or et delendum, which is Latin for Carthage must be destroyed, or Carthage must be deleted. And that was kind of a rhetorical flourish that he used to advocate for the destruction of Carthage. Um, you know, what we're advocating for here is the release of the Epstein files, with the hope that it is the thing that will delete the Trump presidency from our current situation. But let's just start at the top of the hour with some stats. We've been live for 4 hours so far. We've got 136 subscribers. And did we get another one? Let's take a look.
Did we get another one?
13. We've got 13 paid subscribers. So we're
I'm
starting
one of
off
them.
Woot
nice.
woot.
Thank you, Dana.
Yeah,
We're doing
I posted
amazing,
about
y'all.
it. I said, I'm subscribing to these lunatics, 24 hours of going live. Kira and I have a joint membership. She said, please subscribe. It's a really good deal.
It's a good
Only
It's an
deal,
10,
amazing deal.
and it's a
only
great cause
$10 for the
because
year.
we are taking the money that we raise from this and we are putting it towards a foundation or a fund or a charity to be determined, something that either benefits the victims of the Epstein pedophilia ring, or that helps pay for legal fees or some other thing that will help defend democracy. So, our guarantee to you is that we are going to take the money that we raise today and give it away to charity, to a good cause, because our purpose here is to make sure that those fucking Epstein files get released. Nick, what are we doing here today?
We're demanding the release of the Epstein files. What do
Absolutely.
you,
Dana,
that's what we're doing here.
how do you feel about the release of the Epstein files?
I think we should see them. I think they should be released. And
I
also, Lawrence, we've talked about this on our podcast and just in life of like, how has his unwillingness to release them, how has that 180 in his campaign promise not turned his people against him? And that is a rhetorical question, but it seems worth restating of like how do you still believe in someone who is so clearly guilty, who has gone back on, I mean, this was what he campaigned on, right?
Yeah, and that's a
So
big piece of it, is he campaigned on
how
this.
I don't get how this hasn't been the biggest trust violation and like canceling moment or the moment of truth for his diehards of like maybe he's lying. I don't get it.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's just release them if you're not in them.
It should be the easiest thing in the world, right? That
Yeah.
if you are in fact not in these files, or if you are mentioned in passing because whatever you helped Epstein pick out the wallpaper in his New York apartment, just release the
It's
files,
gold.
right?
Punchline.
Right,
Spoiler.
right.
It's gold. The wallpaper is made of gold.
The wallpaper is gold. Yeah. Spoiler alert. I recommend the gold. You can never go wrong with gold.
No, the gold, it's so
It's
pretty.
It's
very
I
so
chic.
love
pretty.
it. It when
It
it's liquid, it's even better because then you can just let it pour all
If you
over you.
shower in it, it's even better.
I love no, but the germs. Melania said there's germs, but pee is actually sterile, so there's no germs. So
Oh
that
boy. Oh
statement doesn't
boy.
make any sense because I'm a rambling moron and my brain is so small.
We're already getting off track into the Trump impersonations.
What? There's no off track with Trump
that
impersonations.
is yeah, and you have 24 hours. It's a slow roll.
Mm.
You need to go down some tangents if you're going to be filling a 24-hour. It's not really a pledge drive, a launch drive, a release drive, release the files drive.
A
I like
launch
that, a
marathon.
release drive. But yeah, it's our
It
launch
is.
marathon, and we got a lot of time. And the good thing is we don't always have to talk specifically about Epstein. We can talk about some of the things that it's impacting. Like Dana, you and I have talked about parenting before, and how does
Oh yeah,
this impact parenting in America right now when the society is telling us and telling those of us, say, with boys, but also with girls, that it's okay to rape people.
yeah. It
And how do you feel about
it.
that, Dana? Because I wanna give you the floor to unload on that
Oh
because I know
God,
you have some feelings about some of
of
the
how I
the
feel.
shitty
Yeah,
people.
I have a few feelings. And so does Kira. She's really eager to be a part of this, you guys. She doesn't usually sit in my lap like this. Um, I'm very grateful I live in a part of the world where I don't worry each day as my kids go off to school that their classmates, that the dominant ethos here is very liberal, right? So it feels maybe slightly removed, but what does it mean to raise daughters in a country where the ultimate bully just got elected, has been elected twice to the top office, to um, a credibly accused rapist, to uh, an outright braggart about grabbing pussies, someone who has no respect for women and has demonstrated time and time and time again how he is completely comfortable sexualizing teenagers, including his own daughter. Doesn't feel great to be raising teen girls in that environment. Um, it's it makes me very worried. My older child is rising senior. She'll be starting her senior year in high school in a couple weeks. So we're in the throes of college hunting, and some of the top schools she's looking at are in red states. And I'm just like, I don't, I don't, I don't know
Mhm.
that you can go there.
Yeah. Okay. So I
So
asked this
it impacts
question.
everything.
But Lawrence is going to boot me for a couple minutes. My wife just got home with a Costco order, and delivery of ours after a
Oh, you got
day
to
of
help her.
Costco. So I
Yeah,
got to help.
go help.
Go
So
help
All
I'll
her.
be
right,
It's
back.
thanks,
I'll
Nick.
be back soon, y'all.
Lawrence
We'll
and I
catch up with
never
you
run
later.
out of things to talk about, so we're
Nope.
completely fine. You go
Right.
You
for
are
it.
my morning show. Lawrence was talking about morning shows. Y'all are my or Fred was.
That's
Y'all are my morning show. So
that's the
take
goal
it
of the
away,
Daily
friends.
XE. Drink your morning coffee with us, and definitely go help with the Costco stuff. See
Thanks,
you back
Nick.
soon.
See you soon.
Phew, we finally got rid of that deadbeat, Lawrence. I had
But
to.
here's the thing. I
Yeah.
appreciate the question that he asked. And I
Yeah.
appreciate your perspective as a parent. And I'm a single man. I'm a gay dude. I don't have kids, and I'm still happy to pay my taxes in this country to make sure that everybody's kids get educated. Right? I'm happy to make sure that my taxes to pay taxes so that my tax money goes towards you know funding local police, funding things like the FBI and CIA who investigate things like pedophilia rings and bring people to justice. Like I
Yeah.
know that this impacts parents, and I absolutely believe that we should be centering the conversation in part on parents of children. How your parenting may be changing in the face of this information, and
Yeah.
also everybody in this country is a part of this conversation because it should matter to all of us how our children are being socialized, what we're teaching them, what examples we're setting for them as individuals in a productive society, and how people who violate, honestly, some of the most who people who perpetrate some of the most heinous crimes, right? Like sex crimes are horrible,
The
and this
damage they
particular
do for
sex
life.
crime,
Yeah.
is up there with murder and the most heinous of all crimes that we could imagine,
Yeah.
experiencing in our society. And
Oh,
obviously, these people should be punished. So,
yes.
yeah.
Of course. I want to say, Linnea, thank you for joining. She's saying, I'm sad that I have to go for a few hours just when Dana joined. You all rock, release the Epstein Files. Thank you, Linnea.
Thanks,
Linnea is a
Leia.
wonderful writer and friend from Medium who's now getting up on Substack. Y'all should read her work. And Cheryl says, I agree about paying my shared taxes. We should. Yes, Wendy Parker says, Dana, Dayton is still blue and safe for the most part, and we have some damn fine higher learning institutions. Good to know. Um, and oh my gosh, the comments are just pouring in. Thank you guys.
And hey,
Um,
Linnea, you asked for a shirt earlier. I might have done that over the course of the last 4 hours.
oh,
I created a new shirt. Linnea asked for one. I kind of amended the phrasing. Shit so bad, even the introverts are here. A protest shirt for introverts to wear to their protest. Um,
I love it.
if that language is too spicy for you, Linnea, let me know. I'll make a more G-rated version. But I figured, go big.
Okay. I love it. And if she dropped, we should message that to her because she said she was having to drop. I don't know if she's still here, but
Nice.
just in case. Well, that's a really good one for introverts everywhere. I am not an introvert, but you know, I get it. It's even as a non-introvert, it's hard to get out and protest. So,
Right.
um,
Newsflash,
yeah,
everybody. Dana, not an
thanks.
introvert.
Da 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 da. I am not. But I love that there is an introvert shirt. I think that one is amazing. I'm also like super digging how calm my dog is being here with us
She's
today,
being very
Lawrence.
sweet. Maybe
She's
the secret to calming her down in the morning is just she needs to see me.
it might be, although she's looking away.
Well,
Oh,
she was gazing at me earlier. I could see her.
yeah. I don't know. It might be because we're outside. I don't know what the difference is, but um, I'm happy that she's here for she's part of the launch debut. We'll see.
She's
Maybe
part
they
of the launch debut. Part of
we'll
the
see if
launch
the cats
debut.
join. But yeah, to go back to parenting, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. And I have a few story starts that they're not directly related to the Epstein files, but they are around launching kids into the world. This is something that takes up so much of my brain space right now. And it's not just that our president is a likely rapey pedophile. I have to put the caveat there, likely. And that it's emboldening bad behavior from men all over. There's the rise of AI. What jobs are going to be available? There's climate clusterfuck that like, oh, can you go to a college that's in a hurricane zone or a flood zone? Yeah, I feel like there's so much more to think about than what we should be thinking about, which is what's the correct education for you?
Yeah.
That should be the only thing, but it's not anymore. It's at least for me, it's not, and I don't hear this from a lot of parents. And I wonder, I feel like there have to be more parents like me out there who are like, I maybe this is an opportunity for my kid to go to Canada to get educated. There's a pretty decent path to citizenship if they get their college education at one of the Canadian schools, or maybe they go to Europe. My kids are EU citizens through their dad's side. So is it better for them to launch there and have options? Or do they need to stay close to home in case there is like it feels like something really catastrophic could happen in the next 4 years.
Sure.
And I'm sure part of it is being underlined by my like my baby's leaving home. But I've always been a like I want my kids to fly wherever they need to fly kind of a mom. I don't think it's primarily that. I think it's legitimate of like if we enter a war, if there is a catastrophic hurricane or some other
Sure.
natural disaster, like the idea of my children being um, multiple plane flights away. What if the FAA gets shut down? Like,
Right.
I don't,
Honestly, we have all kinds of things to worry about, right? Like part of what COVID taught us is that pandemics can still happen. And,
yeah,
I think we've all learned that the way that civilization is kind of encroaching on the natural world, pandemics are maybe even more likely in the coming years because there, is a greater chance that, whether COVID happened from, the Wuhan wet market or whatever it is, or lab leak or whatever it may be, the chance
right.
that, Ebola or Marburg or one of those crazy viruses kind of
Mhm.
humanizes and becomes more easily transmissible among humans.
Bird flu.
Bird flu, right? Like even just bird flu, like a really bad
I,
influenza.
yeah,
Or, I know you and I have had lots of conversations about, your oldest thinking about where she wants to go to school. And, things like considering the southeastern coast of the United States is really scary because
yeah.
what if a hurricane hits, right? And what if it hits during a pandemic and when the FAA is shut down? Like, we really only need one of those things to put us into crisis. And
Or
there's,
there's an attack on U.S. soil and we're in martial
sure,
law. I
right,
mean, none of these things feel like speculative fiction anymore. They all feel like that could be a Tuesday. That could be any day when we wake up. So,
right,
someone just wrote, I wouldn't send my kid to any school south of the Mason-Dixon line. Yeah, her top choice school is well south of the Mason-Dixon line. And then there's the other obvious thing of like, I have, two children who have female anatomy. Like they or their friends are going to need abortions and well, birth control first, because that's I think on the table in the coming years while they're in college,
absolutely,
and also abortions. Like you're like, yeah, yeah, I live in Washington, blah blah blah. But I'm like, they're reaching out across state lines. Uh, so all of it is so, and then you start getting into the like, do you have the grades? Do you have the SAT scores? Do they have the majors that you want? How much does it cost? Is there scholarship? Like, I don't know how many people who are listening have kids around this age and have dug into what college costs these days
right,
because it's fucking bad shit crazy expensive.
right. So, I mean, I don't,
Yeah,
want to divulge your business, but
yeah,
we've
it's
talked
okay.
about, kind of the price ranges that you're looking at, that it would cost to, to send your kid to a school, a good school,
Yeah,
like not Harvard, or Yale, but like a good school for what they're interested in and, what she wants to do. And like what absolutely kind of like knocked the wind out of me was when you did the math and we realized, we're talking about like $250,000,
easy,
to
easy.
educate one of your children. And
And that's not even the highest. Like, um, yeah, there was one school we were doing some homework the other night. Her top choice to school right now, the annual just tuition cost is about 45,000 a year.
right, just tuition.
Just tuition, no room, no board,
Right.
no,
She
and
still
it
has
is
to eat. She still needs to buy books. She still needs to have a place to live.
right. And Sunny is saying my daughter got scholarships. Sure, the private schools tend to have more scholarships, but let's say she gets a $15,000 a year scholarship and the cost is only going up every year. You're still looking between room, board, travel back and forth. Like easy $250,000 in 4 years. And I don't have a $500,000 saved to educate my two kids. And
Right.
by the time my younger daughter's coming in, it will only be higher. We found another school that she super lit up about. Tuition $67,000 a year
Right.
in a
And
blue state, at least. But I was like, her dad and I have pretty good jobs. Like we work, we've been saving for their educations these kids' whole lives. So we have 529s.
right.
Um, they can't even cover room board, like they can't all in even cover state schools,
Right.
what we've saved.
And a point we've talked about this before on our show, and we've talked about it with Nick and with Fred. Is you know you're middle class, right? Like we talk a lot about
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
the class that
the
apparently doesn't exist anymore, but
well, right.
right.
And I mean, but think
What,
about kind of the dynamics here, right? And I know you have. I'm saying like to the larger audience, right? Like so I can vouch. Dana and her husband have good jobs. They've been working their entire lives. They've
did
done
you just say
everything right.
husband?
They bought a good house in ex-husband, bought a good house in a good neighborhood that has appreciated in value, and and you've got two kids who want to go to school, and so
Yeah,
you can't pay this amount of money. Like you just don't have this amount of money, and so the idea is that you're looking at potentially launching your kids into the world with 100 150 $200,000 worth of student loan debt, and
I will not allow
55-year
it.
old person here
Yeah,
still has $150,000 of student loan debt to pay off, have been paying for 30 years. This is how the middle class dies, right? Like, this is how they're going to get us. Like,
giving you all the hearts. Yes.
yeah, like this is why, um, and people may be listening and thinking like, well, how does this connect back to the Epstein files? It connects back to the Epstein files because Donald Trump is running a criminal administration that is clearly guilty of. I mean, we already know he's an adjudicated rapist. We already know he's committed 34 felonies. We already know that he's been impeached twice, even though he wasn't convicted in the Senate. We already know that the man runs everything as a criminal enterprise, as if he's a mafia boss.
Yep.
And the only way we can potentially pry him out of power is if we can get the Epstein files released. So there's polling out recently, just today, I think. I heard it on a morning show. If the Epstein files were released and if they showed that Trump was indeed named and connected to acts of pedophilia, his approval rating amongst Republicans would drop to 47%. Now, normal minded people like
Okay.
us think, Jesus fucking Christ, 47%? How could there be, if he's literally named and connected, how could there still be nearly half of the Republican Party that would stand by him, right? Except that his approval rating amongst Republicans is currently around 90%, right? Not amongst the rest of
Which is
us,
nuts.
obviously. If we could cut that in half, that changes the electoral politics of everything. And so
It does.
far, Teflon Don, nothing has stuck. Nothing that we've thrown at this guy, no crime is too big or too small to have any impact on prying the GOP. The what did Shane or what somebody else we had on earlier came up with a name for um, the GOP, right? That was basically guarding old predators, right?
Oh,
Guarding old
perfect.
pedophiles. That's exactly what the GOP is right now. That's what they're
Yeah.
doing. They're protecting pedophiles. And if the Epstein files being released is the thing that we can do to separate him from half of his base, we got to fucking do it. We got to do it because it's the only thing that is going to get him out of power in a time frame that is going to save American democracy. Because we watch them day after day, time after time, moment after moment, every act that they do is further entrenching authoritarianism in this country, potentially to a point where it's going to require, drastic consequences for us to get out of that. And So how does everything we're talking about connect to the Epstein files? Because the policies that are keeping college at $250,000 per kid could be fixed under a
Yeah.
Democratic administration. They could be fixed with a Congress that was actually paying attention to the needs and wants of the American people. Instead, we
Yes.
have a Congress completely in thrall to Donald Trump and his pedophilic criminal crime organization.
Yeah.
That's how it connects. My friends, everything in modern American politics connects to the Epstein files. Everything. Everything.
Lawrence, that was beautiful, first of all. Like, I'm giving you a round of applause around my dog. Um,
Clip it and
and
snip
all,
it and put it on the socials.
yeah. And also, I'm still amazed that the one thing that may finally fucking stick and take this guy down and finally wake his supporters up is sleeping with teenage girls. Did something happen to my headset, by the way? I just bonked something. Can you still hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, good. Um, I am still like, how is it that it's just, you know, sleeping with 14-year-old girls? They want to sleep with 14-year-old girls. They're trying to lower the age of adulthood to 14. Have they done it yet? Like, I feel like maybe they did and I missed it, but it's on the cusp, if not in terms of criminal. Ooh, bees. Okay, bees are coming. Woo! There's like four yellow jackets buzzing around us right now. Why is this the thing that's resonating with Republicans?
I mean,
Here, hop down, save yourself.
what's even more insane is how is Trump so foolish? I mean, why do we even waste time asking questions like
Yeah,
how is he so
anything you're
foolish?
gonna say after that,
But like, how is he so fucking dumb that the big campaign promise that he made was that he was going to
right?
release the Epstein files? He clearly knew that he would be in them, and now this is the thing that's going to bring him down because of every campaign promise that he's made and has not followed through on. This is the one that is going to peel him away from his MAGA base because this was foundational. This is like their canon. This is like their
That's what I
origin
keep being
story
told, and I don't
for
get it,
yeah,
but I'm happy
like
about it.
all of the rumors that they made up about um, Pizzagate and
Right,
all
right.
of the crazy shit. I mean, although it is probably very likely true. Let's just be real. Bill Clinton is probably in the Epstein files
Oh,
too.
of course
Which, fine,
yeah,
fuck you,
take it
Bill
down.
Clinton, go away forever,
Right.
um, or die. I mean, I'm sorry, but he's very old, so
He is pretty old, and yeah, I've yet to hear. I know that's the way. I've seen a lot of people making fun of like, oh, you think we don't want it released because of Clinton? Like, I haven't heard a single Democrat anywhere be like, we better protect Bill Clinton.
yeah,
Everyone's like, anyone in the Epstein files should go burn in a fucking fire.
yeah. Hey,
If
Dana,
you're molesting kids, yeah,
listen earlier when Shane Yurak was on the show?
I
Shane,
could,
I'm going to
yeah,
potentially pull a Wendy. If you're available, I want to pull you on so that you can talk to Dana because I was super impressed, man. And give me a shout in the chat if you're willing to jump on here for a couple of minutes and talk to us.
I would love to
Um,
meet Shane. I heard it for a couple. Shane was on with another gentleman whose name I'm forgetting right now, but I heard it for a couple minutes. But I was mostly making breakfast for the kids. It's 24 hours. I have to pace myself.
all
So
right.
yeah, I would love if Shane could join. If he can't, is he here? Is he
He's in
ready?
the chat. I just don't know if he's available. He may be working,
Right.
but Shane, I'm going to do that thing where I go ahead
Yeah.
and send you
Pull a
the invite.
Wendy.
And if you can join, join. If not, we'll pull Nick back in.
While we wait, can I show you something funny?
Of
This is
course.
not politically related at all, but my very sweet neighbor to the north has an apple tree that makes not very good tasting apples, but they drop constantly. So I'm going to just show you a quick view. Can you see all the apples on the ground?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, and they fall from that tree. See the grill? They hit the grill and make this crazy loud bang, like constantly this time of year. So if you hear like bam, I'm not under attack, other than by the neighbor's apple tree.
Right. Other than by Apple, Apple attack.
Apple attack. So I just thought you'd appreciate that little slice of life while we wait to see who's coming back
Yeah,
on.
so Shane can take a break in like 10 minutes, so he's going to jump
Okay.
on then.
Oh,
We can
great.
keep chatting.
We can
Bathrick
absolutely
Guy has
keep
joined us. We're
chatting.
seeing a lot of new names, but also a lot of names that we recognize from our morning show, the Daily
Yes.
Whatever, which is amazing. Thank you for showing up for us.
Thank you so
If you're
much. We
just
love the
tuning in,
whatevers.
this is the 24-hour Banner and Backbone launch extravaganza, launch marathon. We got another paid subscriber, and we're up to
Yes.
168 subscribers overall for Banner and Backbone.
Wow.
So
Congratulations.
thank you everybody for jumping in and helping us out. And I'm just going to say it again: all of the money that we're raising for paid is going to go to a nonprofit or a charity. Specifically, we're looking for a reputable one, something that we can give to that is focused on helping either Epstein crime victims or a defense fund, a legal defense fund if necessary. So we're going to spend that money well, and of course we will be transparent. Oh, awesome, Nick! Thank you. Nick is putting a link
All
to
the links.
subscribe. We've got a deal going on right now, 80% off for this 24-hour marathon. So it's just $10 a year or $1
Right.
a month to be a paid subscriber for Banner and Backbone.
And
We're going
that's
to
a
do a
smoking
lot.
deal.
It's a smoking deal. We're going to do a lot of great stuff. We're going to do things like have articles written about parenting and Epstein, right? Dana is an obvious choice for something like that. Melissa Corrigan is an obvious choice for something like that. Melissa and Fred and Shane and Nick and a whole bunch of other folks are veterans of the military. They've got very clear and strong opinions about the current moment that we're living in and why releasing the Epstein files is important. They will be writing for us. Um, there's an article up on Banner and Backbone right now that talks about the Citizens Oath, which is an idea that Dana and I came up with on our morning show, the Daily Whatever, and we tried to push it there, and I think it's got a really good home here, and it fits really
Yes.
well. Dana, do you want to talk about the Citizens Oath and kind of our experience with it so far?
Sure. I would love to, though I will humbly say this was Lawrence's idea that I think is brilliant and help propagate. But this is all you. You're this. I just want to Travis you. I'm gonna make that a thing. And
Aw,
when you're like, I'm gonna elevate you, baby. You're the smartest guy I know with your big words. The Citizens Oath.
you're the Travis to my Taylor. I love it.
It, that's what I'm doing. I want to be that. I'm working on growing my beard for our next challenge. Anyhow, the Citizens Oath. Lawrence was fascinated but with the idea that when one serves in the military or in a government role, one needs to take an oath to the Constitution. So plenty of Americans have done. Hey, Americans never need to take an oath to the Constitution. We say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, which I don't love, but oh, I'm getting the your internet connection is unstable message, like our democracy. Can you all still hear me?
Yeah, you kind
Okay.
of Mr. Roboto there for a minute, but you're back.
Mr. Roboto. Domo arigato. If I can move back inside if it keeps happening closer to the router. Anyhow, the citizen's oath is the idea that the people who are in power right now are violating the Constitution left and right. Our educational system is maybe not doing the greatest job of teaching what is in the Constitution. And um, it make in Lawrence's mind, and I agree with this, to get on air online and to say the oath, which is a modified version of the oath that folks in the military or in public service in the government positions say, that it is our job to defend the Constitution against enemies, both external and internal. It's a powerful thing. Lawrence is way more rah rah patriotic than I am, always has been. But when I read it out loud, I kind of choked up. It was powerful. And the original idea that could still come to be, perhaps with the launch of this publication, Banner and Backbone, is for this to go viral on social media, like the Ice Bucket Challenge, to have it be like, I am going to say the Citizen's Oath, because it's really short. You can say it in under a minute. And then to dare your friends, like everybody should say this oath. It is our job to defend the Constitution against enemies. And right now, there is, uh, well, maybe one primary internal threat that's propagated into thousands of internal threats to the Constitution. How am I doing, Lawrence?
Amazing. Yeah. Like
Thank you.
the idea here is, exactly what you said, that, it, I, my brother-in-law served in the army, right? Retired from the army after 30 years of service. And we know so many veterans, and government employees take the oath to the Constitution, and people in elected office take the oath to the Constitution. But if you're a natural, and people who are naturalized citizens who become citizens take the oath to the Constitution. But if you're a natural born citizen, there's not really a moment where you do that unless you become a military service member or an elected official,
Right.
or a post office worker, right? Many of us could go through our lives never taking the oath to the Constitution, and I think we should, because then I think it equalizes the playing field. And one of the things that I've learned over the last 30 years of being involved in politics is, ain't nobody in politics smarter than, better than anyone else who's just a regular citizen of this country. They are all just people, right? Even the most highly elected, the folks that have been in office for a billion years, all just people, often
Mhm.
wrong people, very fallible, very incorrect people. And if they are not honoring their oath to the Constitution, we should make sure that we are making them honor their oath to the Constitution. And isn't it easier to dare someone to honor their oath to the Constitution if we have also taken an oath to the Constitution? So you can say,
Mhm.
hey, man, we're on the same playing field. I took an oath to the Constitution of the United States. Why can't you? Or you did to be in this office, to serve as elected leader. Why aren't you honoring it? Hey, Shane, thank you
Right.
so much for joining us.
Yeah,
Hi,
no,
Shane.
it's hello, Dana. I watched you join Nick in one of the parenting lives
Ah,
the other
yes.
day. As a 25-year-old guy with no kids, I found it exceptionally interesting
Oh, good.
because I loved what you were talking about in terms of just raising someone, but also especially the honesty aspect where you have to be very honest with them when you're talking to
Yes.
your kids, and not,
Yes.
because I honestly think when I was younger, um, Mr. Nick, uh, I think that my parents did a great job, but I also think that they and sometimes did me a disservice by maybe sheltering me from those things. And in a lot of ways, they let me make my own opinions, which was something that I'm very grateful for because, maybe they didn't influence me one way or the other. Like, they don't like to talk about their opinions, which now, as an adult, I have a problem with a lot of the times because I'm like, hey, have an
Right.
opinion. And, but it is, to kind of tie it into your citizen's oath here, all that is that honesty and that transparency, and we have to be honest with ourselves about what it is to be a citizen of this country,
Yep.
because being an American is not just, oh yep, I'm free. No, like, number one, you're not free. Okay, I don't care who's telling you what you believe, what you want to believe, but you go ahead, you sit down real hard and you look at your credit card payments at the end of the day.
Right.
You look at the fact that you have to show up to work, 5 days a week and do something that maybe you don't love because you have to, because if you don't pay into the system, you got to be homeless. And let's look at how well we treat our homeless in this country. So what's your
Right.
choice? You want to be oh, take a summer off, go drive around the country. Well, if you park your van in the wrong spot, they'll chuck you in jail because we don't like that. We don't like transient people in this country. You're not free. You're free to do exactly what is within the guardrails of what's acceptable in
Yep.
this country. So, beyond all that, we're not being honest with ourselves, and that's what oath, I think, is about, Lawrence, is being honest with yourself. What's my responsibility? Do I want to be
Absolutely.
free?
Yeah.
Am I free to be free? And if that's the case, then maybe I have to do something
Yeah.
instead of this.
Yeah.
Um,
Here's the thing I
but
like to say, Shane, is when you read the Constitution, right? When you look at our government, the founders only asked us to really do one thing in the Constitution, which was stand up and be counted every 10 years so that we could reapportion the congressional districts, right? They
right,
didn't say you have to vote. They didn't say you have to do any particular thing. It was only just be counted for the census.
right.
And when we think about the rights, when people talk about the rights that we are entitled to as Americans, we need to flip that around to, and there are responsibilities. They may not be articulated, but there are responsibilities. Vote, be an informed citizen, right? Like be informed about what you're doing. And I think, yeah, you should take a pledge to the Constitution to say that you're going to uphold the values of the system that basically is the foundation of our entire government.
Yeah, and I was listening. You said pledge allegiance to the flag, and that reminded me because when I was in school, okay, they always made us say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Same.
Young Shane over here is like, that's freaking stupid. I don't believe in, and not to hate on anyone who believes in God, but I don't believe in God, so I'm not going to pledge
Same.
allegiance to God. Like, under God, a nation under him, because then I'm pledging allegiance to him, and that's not okay to me. I'm
Yeah.
free
Yeah.
to do so. So when my teacher said, Shane, why are you not standing? I would say, well, this isn't, I don't have to. I'm in America, right? Like, I should be able to sit down. And
Uh-oh. How'd
they're
that
like,
go over?
not well. I ended up in the principal's office. But
Wow.
but guess what? I never stood. I fought him, and I never stood. But that's just me. Like, I'll dig my heels in on something, and I won't stop. For better or for worse.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it goes both ways. But in this case, and with our democracy on the line, my heels are freaking dug in. And but it's about seeing that we have, and you should have been. My whole point was I should be free to sit or stand. I should be free to do either. Like, and that is, I think, too, about it's protecting the what is liberty, right? Liberty and justice for all. I wrote. I think when you interpret the Constitution, it's a very interesting document because if you look at who wrote it, um, if you look at the man who coined the tree of liberty, right? He was a prolifically horrible person who assaulted his slaves,
Right.
and he was just a terrible guy. He just sucked, right? Like, and people get on me. Oh, why were you talking shit? They're bad people. Like, they had a good idea, but they were bad people. It's like, oh, George Washington released his slaves. He had them. He freaking
Right.
had them.
Well,
Okay.
and
You
if you
know,
look at the way he released his slaves, it wasn't like on my death the slaves are free. It's like,
yeah,
well, when my wife dies, the slaves could
yeah,
maybe be free. Like,
yeah. It's up to her, and at least she was a good person, so she was like, all right, but they're not. None of these people are saints, okay? And for us to treat them as such is we should not raise them up. We should honor the idea, the notion of the pursuit of happiness, and where that came from. I believe it was life, property, and liberty. It came from an older philosopher. He was English, I believe. But they replaced. But the idea, I'm spacing on it. He's a philosopher. But the idea that it was built on is, and I like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So it was property, but the pursuit of happiness was added by Jefferson. So that
right.
was his version. Well, the pursuit of happiness, I think, is the singular most powerful part of that entire um, aspect, right? And what is
Absolutely.
liberty is just that. It's the ability to leave your house and not be afraid. It's the ability to have economic freedom, right? And if you don't have the ability to leave your house and not be afraid, if you don't have economic freedom and the chance for opportunity, if you're a woman and you're not going to succeed in the same environment as a man because you're a woman, and it's the broligarchy and the manosphere is what rules our corporate world, then there is no pursuit of happiness and
Yep.
there is no liberty. So we have been, and I have to stress this, even if Kamala got elected, I go like, I would have been so on them about so much shit. Like I'm up to date on Palestine, and I'm not even going to go into that, but they freaking funded it too. So no, there is no small problem that is it's all big. It's all been made into this big um, present that is supposedly freedom, right? And it's just all of the things that aren't freedom that has been labeled as such. But that oath and this opportunity that we are getting from this, real populist movements, they come from mass oppression, like the revolution of the plebs in Rome, right? That only happened because it became it's a huge oligarchy and everyone was starving and really bad things happened. And so they had to throw up their hands and do it. What Trump offers us is the opportunity to have conditions to meet this moment to make the right choice, because inevitably I think we were going to get there even under Biden, even under Harris, because the tech bros would have gotten in there eventually, and they're just half of this coin, right, with the Epstein files. And
Mm,
that's what you guys are demanding, right, is
be-
you
I hesitate a little with that equivocation, but
no, sorry,
I
go ahead,
that
no,
just
please
that
challenge
the
me.
idea that we would be in the same spot eventually with Biden and Harris.
So yeah,
I
well,
don't.
please
I Yeah.
challenge me.
I think there can be danger in equivocating the two. I don't think we would be anywhere near the point that we are already in. What, five, six
Yeah.
months, 8 months?
Oh,
I'm losing track
absolutely.
of time into
Hundred percent.
a
I
Trump administration.
100%. Yeah.
Can I jump in with a question, Shane? Because I'm not familiar with your presence on Substack and what you do. I'm
Oh yeah, yeah, for
glad
sure.
to hear you talk, but like, what's your publication and what do you mostly write or
Yeah.
podcast about?
So I'm the founder of the Firebrand Project. Very simple.
I
It's based. We're based in the Socratic method, right? And it's about approaching our democracy and our society from a new lens. It's about, instead of reading the headlines and reacting, it's about looking at what we're seeing and treating it with the curiosity that it's due. It's about looking
Ooh,
to find and expand on something. When you read a headline, instead of reacting to that, we need to ask ourselves why, right?
right,
What do I love about talking to young kids? Why? Why? It's the best three-letter word in the human language, whatever you're translating it into, because you're seeking for understanding. And and that is absolutely what we need, because if we just asked why, Trump did this. Oh, that's horrible. What are we going to do? That's not helpful. Why did he do it?
Right.
That's how we start, is we ask why. Because if you ask why, suddenly it becomes much easier to start to challenge these kind of things.
Well, and I
yeah,
think it ties back to the overarching question. I just want to point out, from a programming point of view, we've got Ellie Leonard coming on at the top of the hour, so we've only got a couple minutes left with the two of you. And thank
I'll
you
be I'll
both
be gone in five
for
minutes
taking the
anyway.
time.
Yeah.
Um, but this ties back to the Epstein files, right? Because why is he doing it? Why is Trump doing the insane things that he's doing? It's because he's trying to distract, right? Like, left, right, and center, he's trying to distract from
yes,
the Epstein files, and we need to get them released because this is the thing that is going to pry him away from his base.
Yeah, I agree, and that's something that I wrote about. And the other thing I do is I have newsletters. I call them brutally honest, and that's so I'll publish them. Usually I try to do them every Monday. I'll do one. This week I've been bad because I've got stuff going on. I'm trying to get my house ready. I'm going on vacation in
oh
a
fun.
couple, so I'm like all over the place. But brutally honest, it's about just giving you the truth. I don't. I just want to tell you guys how I see it. I'm not reporting the news. It's what I saw and how I feel. And that's what Brutally Honest is.
Nice.
And then I also do Tackling Today, which is a new type of live stream that I've started to do, where we go and I go to Associated Press, I go to Reuters, and I go to Al Jazeera, and I'll go down the headlines and we'll read a couple articles, and I'll tell you what I think it means, not what's happening, but why it's happening, and we'll do that as well.
I love
But that,
that.
yeah,
Since
and
we only
so
have a few minutes left, can I jump in and say we have a
please,
feature? Lawrence and I have our own daily live podcast called The Daily Whatever Show. And every Friday, we have a feature called Fucked Up Friday, where we invite one guest on and we each pitch what the most fucked up news was that week and
that's
why.
pretty good.
And it's a competition. We would
That's
love, you
pretty
should
good.
totally come on. You would be perfect.
I'm game. I'm
Absolutely.
totally
Okay.
game. I'm
You got to
totally
come
game.
on our Fucked Up Friday show because
I
you
would
are
love it.
good at pitching your stuff. I can tell.
Yes, it's
You'll
like my
probably kick our butts,
I'm not
but maybe
I
not.
want you guys to kick my butt, like
We're gonna
that's
try.
Oh
it's a
yeah,
Make no
dialogue,
mistake.
it's a
right?
friendly
What is
competition.
philosophy if not a dialogue? And that's where like at my core I want to bring
Yes,
philosophy back. I think it should be cool because it is cool. It's
it
not
is
it's
cool.
not a bunch of old dudes in togas sitting around. Like I'm sure a lot of folks here would love to see, Lawrence and Nick and Frederick all sitting around in togas. Like I think that would be a really cool show, but it's not just that, right?
When you
Like
hit 50 paid subscribers, Lawrence, toga,
there you go. There you
toga,
go.
Toga,
Toga
toga,
show.
toga,
Toga
toga.
show. But
toga
All
show
right,
sounds
let's
nice.
wrap. I've loved
okay.
Yeah,
having both of you on. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
Shane, thank you for taking a break. Dana, my beloved co-host and best friend, thank you for joining. I'm going to
of
boot you
course.
both, and I'm going to invite Nick back
Congratulations on
on.
this launch, you guys. I'll be
Yes,
listening
subscribe to
in.
Banner and Backbone. I'll see you guys later.
Thank
Subscribe.
you,
Bye.
thank you both. All right,
Kick us off.
I'm kicking. I'm kicking. Holy Christmas. Thank you so much to Dana Dubois, my lovely co host. Thank you to Shane Urek for jumping in and taking a break and coming in to talk to us. That was amazing. I'm going to go ahead and add Nick Perro back into this conversation. And when our next amazing guest, Ellie Leonard, joins us, we will add her into the conversation as well. Nick, how the hell are you, my friend?
Welcome, welcome. Oh, I'm doing good. Um, that was so much fun to listen to. I wish I had gotten the chance to talk with Dana a little bit more, but I get to talk to Dana all the time, and I'm glad Shane got the chance to jump on again. That's second time for Shane today. So if you want, please do follow Shane Urich and the Firebrand Project. Also follow Gen Xe. But right now, the big plug, follow Banner and Backbone. Become a subscriber with us at Banner and Backbone. We've got, like we said, at the top, pretty much at the top of every hour, and more than once now, as we're running a special on 80% off. And this is your chance now to help support us get started, not for us, but to get litigation, to help support litigation. All of the profits from today and all of the profits from this launch marathon offer are going straight into litigation efforts. We're going to be working on other things as we go too, and some incredible things that are going to be happening. So I'm feeling really good because it's been an incredible day so far. How
An
are you
incredible
doing?
day so far, and we're 5 hours in. We've got 16 paid subscribers. Thank you. 173 subscribers all up. This is amazing. We're doing this crazy 24-hour marathon because we really want to launch Banner and Backbone strong. We've got a mission and a purpose and a vision, and the three of us, Nick and Fred Pogue and myself, we all agreed that the thing that we needed to go big on immediately was getting the Epstein Files released, because the only way that we can save American democracy is to pry Trump out of that fucking office. And this is probably the most efficacious way that we can do it. I think every thinking person understands and realizes that he is almost certainly all over those files. And we need to see that. The American people deserve the truth.
And so we're going to be bringing on here in just a moment Ellie Leonard, who is an investigative journalist who is doing some incredible, incredible work and research and deep dives into what's going on in the Epstein files, what's going on underneath everything, how Howard Lutnick might be involved, the houses, the tunnels, the servant quarters, the things you would see as small and insignificant. Ellie is digging deep and finding them. She's what I call, and it's the old word for it, is a muckraker. And I want to bring back some good American terminology. A muckraker is an investigative journalist. And we've got Ellie Leonard in the chat.
I
We
just
got
saw
Ellie
that. I'm
Leonard.
going to add her right now. Ellie, please
Ellie's
hold.
getting pulled in right now. So, so thankful to have Ellie here. Please, I'm going to drop her link in the chat. Please go follow her. Please go follow our good friend Ellie Leonard. Welcome.
Welcome.
Hi.
I love the 90s reference and the
Honestly, CKY, I dig it. I dig it. Ellie, I'm Lawrence. It is great to meet
Hi.
you. Thank you for being here.
Of course, I like your shirt too. I
Well, thank you.
don't know what's on the bottom. I just see the top.
Oh, yeah. Fuck the POTUS, man.
Okay, that's fair. I have my
because
coffee.
that's what we do. We have to
Yeah.
tell him to fuck off.
All
Right.
right. Well,
So
I'm.
Ellie, I know I gave you an introduction, and I know you really don't need much of an introduction at this point because so many people really do know who you are. But can you introduce yourself for everybody here today?
Okay, I'm Ellie. I am. I'm a like. Okay, I live right outside New York City, but I'm a transplant via Missoula, Montana, via Washington State, via. So I've bounced around a little bit. I'm from the West Coast. I'm a writer. I'm a struggling writer, like most writers. I came to Substack almost a year ago on Monday, to just see if I could get more readership or more eyes on my writing as I tried to publish. And so it has morphed. It has morphed into politics and current events, which is fine because I've always been very passionate about politics. I was raised to understand local elections, and my dad used to let me watch the news when I was very small, and so I've always been very interested in what's going on. Um, I have no background in journalism. I'm a classical history major, and I own a small business, though, where I work with a lot of journalists from big newspapers and films and podcasts. And so I've kind of become connected to the journalism world, um, just by chance, I guess, just by luck. But now it's a really great place to be, and I've really had a good time just writing my tail off. I think I was feeling a few months ago like I was being very unproductive in my fight against whatever was about to happen, and I didn't know what my place was. And I'm raising kids, and how am I going to affect the world that they're growing up into? And so, I had a friend who was like, "Why don't you try Substack?" And so I thought, "Oh, a blog site, all right." And I just gave it a shot, and I've just really had a good time. And it's shown me my place. Where am I supposed to be in the middle of this? How can I make a difference? How can I be close to the polls? How can I just not shout at my TV and actually, do something? So yeah, that's about it.
Amazing. Amazing. And so, Ellie, of course, we're talking about the Epstein files and kind of how this is potentially a way to pry Trump out of power, pry him away from his base. And I know that your work digs so deeply into some of the nitty gritty details. If people maybe aren't as familiar, right? Like there are certainly people in the world who've heard maybe of the Epstein files but don't know the details. How would you frame it? How would you frame the conversation, and where would you have them start?
Oh golly, I was not even digging into this more than 2 months ago. I kind of jumped on an article by chance and made a timeline of all the interactions between Trump and Epstein, and I was like, I'll just make a little timeline for fun. And people went crazy. Like they went crazy. Nothing like that has ever happened to me before, and I was like, oh, okay, this is what people want to read about. So then I started digging. But what I would say, something that people forget when they want to look into the story of Jeffrey Epstein is it's not everything that's happened in the past 6 months, right? This is a story that goes back to the 90s, and there were people writing about Jeffrey Epstein very early on before they knew he was a criminal. I think there was a lot of suspicion that he was a criminal, but I think people thought of it more financially. Um, but if you look back and you find these older articles that are all public, you don't have to pay for them, especially like Vanity Fair and things like that. Um, you really get insight into who he was and how connected he was. And so the main points to think about in the story of Jeffrey Epstein is that there's a lot of information available, right? We're waiting for these files to be released, but there's a lot available. The flight logs are available, the little black book is available, and for some reason was auctioned off, which I don't really understand why that became a private entity. Um, we have access to all the court records from Virginia Giuffre. We have Jane Doe, who sued Trump and Epstein for something that happened when she was 13. There's just so many, many records. If you want the entire story, I recommend finding Ghislaine Maxwell's court documents. Like the whole pile of them are all online as PDFs. That pretty much tells the story from beginning to end with all the really interesting depositions from like maids and butlers and nannies and things like that. But basically, you have a guy who nobody knows where his money came from. He has faked his way to the top. He was a middle class kid of a teacher's aide and a Parks and Rec worker. Those are his parents. He grew up in Brooklyn. He and his brother, who's being interviewed and is not considered any kind of a suspect, both became millionaires overnight without a paper trail. Uh, they Jeffrey was connected to a lot of people. He was given a lot of gifts. His house in Manhattan, that's the biggest, supposedly the biggest mansion in Manhattan, was given to him by Leslie Wexner. Their giant apartment building where they housed all the women was given to him by Leslie Wexner. People don't understand why Leslie Wexner was so generous with him, but he's the only public client that Jeffrey Epstein ever had, the only person whose name is on the record.
And remind us who Wexner was and how he made his fortune.
Sure. So Leslie Wexner is kind of your typical billionaire, corporate owner, old white guy. He owned um, Victoria's Secret. He bought it and brought it out of bankruptcy. He owns things like Bath and Body Works and Abercrombie and Fitch and all these kind of subsidiary companies. So he's just like a billionaire. He made it. He made his money, and people have said he's a very good guy. He's very generous, this and that. But he's just so connected on so many levels. Like when you think of the story, one of the earliest stories about Epstein and women reporting him was from the 90s, and it was the Farmer sisters. And I wrote an article about them, but they came to Vicky Ward, who was working at Vanity Fair, and they said, we have a story, this is what happened to us. And meanwhile, it's 2003, she's writing an article about Jeffrey Epstein as like this bachelor, bro who's living in New York City. And they came to her and they're like, yeah, but we have this story. That story was shut down by Vanity Fair because Epstein showed up in their editor's office. And so, but going backwards, Maria Farmer, the older of the two sisters, was sexually assaulted in Epstein's house in Ohio on Les Wexner's compound. He also had a house on Les Wexner's compound in Ohio. And so Leslie Wexner has all these connections, and he has never been subpoenaed. He knows everything. He knows everything about his finances. He knows everything about his court cases. He's never been asked any questions in any of it, and he's 87 years old, right?
Wow.
Yeah, the clock is ticking. So he is a very big key player. I think Jeffrey's brother Mark is a big key player, though he claims to, I didn't know anything was happening in this giant apartment building that I own. I don't know anything about Jeffrey's history. I also have this money that showed up out of nowhere. and he's just walking around. So the thing that I've discovered that's kind of a common denominator, a couple of things with all these people, is the modeling industry is a huge, huge connector for everyone. Like
Okay.
that's something that's never been investigated, and it every single person was involved in the modeling industry. Um, and then the second part, what was the second part? It'll come back to me. But they just like nobody has ever been subpoenaed, right? It's like they don't want to know. There's a lot of information that they have at their fingertips that's not even in the Epstein files that they're not asking, right? That would give them a lot of answers. It might clear some people's nose, but they're not asking those questions.
And
And
so the
Ellie,
scenario that you were talking about, the woman, I'm sorry, I get feedback when I'm talking. Uh, so sorry about that. I'm going to try to talk quietly. The woman who was held in the Wexner compound and assaulted by Epstein, isn't there a piece there where they were trying to get her to recruit her little sister to be
No, I mean
okay?
there's a lot of recruiting. Recruiting was a big thing. It was kind of like your first MLM pyramid scheme, of the
Right. Except you're not selling like shitty vitamins, you're
no
committing
candles,
pedophilia.
no weight loss. Um, that was very common for them to hire girls out of poverty, out of foster care, out of really bad family situations, and say, for every girl you bring me, I'll give you $200. That was common. For the Farmer sisters, it was a little bit different. For Maria Farmer, she was an art student. And so she was going to art school, she was finishing up, and her mentor or her teacher, somebody, and I'd have to go back, and I think it was Eileen Guggenheim is the name, if I'm right, came to her and goes, "Oh, I know this great guy named Jeffrey Epstein." It was just one of those where everybody knew who he was. And she said, "You should go sell him your art." And so she goes, "Okay," and then he hired her to be an art consultant and work his front desk at his house, right? He had a front desk at his house. And so she saw everybody come and go for a long time. Before anything happened to her, she saw everyone come and go in his house for auditions. Lots of little girls coming to audition and do modeling auditions for whatever reason at Jeffrey Epstein's house, right? Her little sister came to visit her in New York City, and she was like, 10th, 11th grade. And Epstein said, "I'm doing this thing at my New Mexico compound. It's called Zorro Ranch. And I'm going to have a bunch of students there, and we're going to work on getting you guys into great colleges, and I'm going to help you do it." And so her mom was like, "Super, you should totally go this, because it sounds like it's like a student consortium kind of a thing."
Right.
She gets there by herself, and she's the only one there.
Mm,
And both of them were really wooed in by Ghislaine Maxwell. She was the person, because they both kind of had vibes like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to do this." And then they thought, "Oh, but she's going to be there, so we'll be fine." And then Ghislaine Maxwell molested or assaulted, however you want to say it, both girls, like both of
right.
them. And this weird, kinky thing that she would do with Epstein where they would like mirror each other at the same time, kind of a real gross stuff. And so Maria didn't know that happened to her sister until later. But when she found out it happened to her sister, because Maria actually, when she got assaulted, she ran off the bed, locked herself in a bathroom in the house. Like she knew what was going on. There was no like gray area, and called her dad from the bathroom. But when she found out that that happened to her sister, she reported it to the FBI because her sister was a minor.
Right.
And the FBI took a full report, police took a full report. And then later, when they were coming back to, like nothing happened. And then later, when they were coming back to talk about it, the FBI claimed that there was no report, that she'd never reported anything. And then further on down the road, they went, "Oh, you're right, there was a file. We found it." So it's one of those things. If Jeffrey Epstein was a billionaire in New York City and in Palm Beach and in these places, billionaires have a lot of pull for the city and the police departments and the mayor's office and a lot of these different places because they're making money for their city, and they're basically like a mafia, right? If you took somebody like a Jeffrey Epstein who's pouring money into New York City and you took him out, that would be a huge dent in their economy. And so they don't want that. And so you can pretty much get away with anything. I worked for a long time on a story with, it wasn't my story, I was working with a film crew, but they worked on the Woody Allen story. Same thing, right? Woody Allen got away with a lot more because he was pouring money into New York's economy. And so he had people to back him up because he could. He had the finances to do so. So it's kind of that same thing. He got away with a lot. Yeah, he got away with a lot.
Sorry, Ellie, I'm just going to interrupt and say, um, we've had experiences recently in our chats where we're getting spammers or potentially MAGA folks who jump in. There's a guy named Jonathan Edison who jumped in our chat and said, "Watch out for COVID" a couple of times.
Super.
I've already checked him out. I've already blocked him. It looks like a new profile. It looks like somebody who's trying to pose as somebody. So, folks in the chat, please exercise caution and good judgment around adding people and following people here. Pretend like Substack is a bar where you wouldn't leave your drink uncovered. And just be wise about who you befriend here. If somebody's bugging you, please let Nick and I know, and we will boot them off of the chat. We have zero problem doing that.
Battles. Like, honestly, you're not gonna, like, if someone's a total troll, you're not gonna convince them to change their ways. Like,
For
say,
real. Yeah. So sorry to interrupt you, Ellie.
no, it's fine, it's fine. I get it. I've seen a lot more of that lately. Actually, it's kind of bummed me
Yes,
out.
I
we
think
have
it's
too.
part of that Mark Andreessen money starting to show itself is that I think we're going to see efforts to get trolls into chats and stuff like that where there weren't before. And it's all that dark money stuff coming out of nowhere. Like Mark Andreessen brings in dark money. He's part of the PayPal mafia that wants to destroy America, which, oh, by the way, is working with the Heritage Foundation, which is, oh, by the way, propping up Donald Trump,
Right.
who are protecting the Epstein files. So demand the release of the Epstein files.
I think also just on a like total black and white, like legit level, because Substack has had to drastically change their platform to accommodate this year and has gone more digital and is visual, and you have more podcasts and lives and things. You get a lot more, like, originally it was a lot of people here who were here to read and write, so that kind of weeded out a lot of the trolling, I would say. But I
Right.
think,
Yeah.
with the benefit of people now being able to come here and get their news and watch their news, you also get the people who aren't here to read anything and are probably, you know that's probably how you're getting some of the trolls in, is because they're just here for that. I don't know, maybe that's just my take.
But you know what? We deal with them. That way we
Yes.
can get back to our conversations because they don't add anything to it. And if
Right.
they're not here to add anything or you're not here to learn in any way, bye. Like, don't come and don't, if you don't want to learn and you don't want to be a part of it, then you don't
Right.
need to be here. If you're good and if you're going to make it destructive for other people. Um, and so, I'm glad that we do these things because it keeps our chat engaged too. And then people want to talk, and then we get some really good questions
Yeah.
that come out of the chat.
And I will
And I,
I didn't prepare myself for this at all today because I feel like I do better going in. Like, I read your little list you sent me, but, like, I listened to some of my old things that I've written just so I could remember some of the details. But I was like, I don't want to like study up too much. So I do better if I just go in totally cold. So I may have to think about some things for a minute, but
Well,
wait.
no,
so
it's
this week, Ellie, did you find anything? We haven't talked to you this week
Nope.
yet. Anything new yet this week?
So I wrote about martial law this week. I don't know if we talked
Hmm.
about. I wrote about martial law and the fact that it's not actually on paper anywhere. It's just a whim or a thing that is or isn't. And so the idea of the president declaring martial law, there's no document that says he can or he can't. It's not like in the Constitution. It's not in the Insurrection Act. There are some state constitutions constitutions that have martial law in them that give governors the right to declare it. There's nothing that gives a president the right to declare it. And the original person who declared martial law was Andrew Jackson, which he was a crummy president, and he did it to in New Orleans to um, censor the press. He did it to make a curfew for his city, and he did it so that he could arrest civilians without cause because he was trying to, do a coup. So, um, the idea of martial law, like people are like, oh, I was wondering, I'm like, did he declare martial law? Because everything he's doing is what martial law is, but there's been no declaration. So I finally just like looked it up and I was like, oh, he doesn't even have to. He can just do it. And there's no rule Congress. Doesn't there's nothing. There's nothing. But he's not supposed to be able to do it because a state has to declare it, but because he's in Washington D.C., he's not in a state. Anyway, so I looked that
Yeah.
up. But then I did a full breakdown on Melania Trump because she's in the news. She's causing a ruckus this week with Hunter Biden. She doesn't want to say that Epstein introduced her to her husband. Um, who knows if he did or if he didn't, but Epstein says that he did. It's Epstein is quoted as saying he introduced them. Um, she and Wikipedia says that she was introduced by Paolo Zampoli, I think his name is, who was,
Hmm.
um, modeling exec, another modeling exec, and now works for the Trump department, administration, of course. Um, so I kind of just went through her history and, got here through modeling. And also, when I do these articles, I know it's very salacious to want a lot of the conspiratorial stuff to be true, but it also helps me find out what probably isn't true, right?
Right.
And man, the comments for this article, the things that people, I was very, very much not participating in the comments because it was one of those things where it was just like thousands of people arguing with each other. But just the story of her come here, it is very likely that she had sex with Donald Trump on Epstein's bed. That is probably true. Did she have sex with Epstein? I don't know. There's no documentation to say something like that. I found it interesting because, Donald Trump's love life is like the most complicated puzzle ever. I don't know. I don't think he wanted to keep track of it, but I don't know how you could. But like, he was at a party with this woman named, I think, Selena Middlefart was her name, which was I just thought that was great. She's like this Norwegian.
Great name.
Right.
Yeah,
Wow.
I found that pretty cool. She's like a Norwegian cosmetics businesswoman. He's at a party on a date with her, still married to Marla Maples, and he's trying to get Melania's phone number. And I just thought, man, this feels like work. Like, why would you put yourself through that? But uh,
So before you go any further, if I can ask, do we have any real confirmation on like Melania's age and like how old she was when she met Don, when she met Epstein, when this whole thing, because her background is really, I listened to your article in Reddit and I reposted is my thing is her stuff is really sketchy. Like there's not a lot of questions that have been asked about her real, like
right.
what's her real ages?
Supposedly, she was born in 1970, which would make her a legal adult when she showed up here. I don't know. I don't know. That's just one of those things where, like I said, I paid to have what is it? It's one of these background check websites. It's a really thorough one, and I paid for a subscription because it's just very, very helpful. You can find the full criminal history of basically anyone, and it's interesting when you move to all scraps, like you can't find it on anyone. So there is nothing for her online about her immigration, like specifically her forms. There is online about her birth certificate. Um, I do know she came here on a travel visa and she worked illegally for a long time before she could actually legally work in the U.S. I do know that she earned something like $20,000 before. was actually legally allowed to work here. And then she she kept breaking up with him. She broke up with him the first time because of other models, and then she broke up with him because he ran for president in 2000, which I had totally forgotten about. And he was running for the Reform Party, which was like a centrist party, and she didn't want to deal with a campaign, so they broke up. And then he quit the party because he thought that the party was too supported by David Duke, who is the Grand Dragon of the KKK, which I found hilarious because that guy supports the heck out of him now, and it's not a problem.
Right.
Yeah, they're good buddies now.
Right? And but when he dropped out of that first race, they immediately got back together, and she immediately got an Einstein visa, which you don't have to like have won a Pulitzer, but you have to excel in a field of study, or even if you're a model, you have to be like one, at the very, very, very top of your modeling game, millionaire model. But you can get one if the person who writes your reference letter is somebody with that kind of money. Then that counts. So she got an Einstein visa, and then I never, I failed to look up when she actually became a legal citizen, but I think it was after Barron was born. And yeah, just
'Cause-
like
yeah,
right
because
now,
Barron's an anchor baby, isn't he?
yeah,
Basically.
And it's really odd that there's very little information about her and her background. He, and let's take into context what's going on to, say, in Ukraine, where the Russians are taking children.
mm,
And we know there's ties to Russia always likes to traffic in human beings. They've been doing it for generations. And Eastern European countries, a lot of them, Eastern Bloc countries, were very closely aligned with Russian interests because they were Russian for a long time through the USSR. And it would only make sense with the way that they treat human life and how little they value human sanctity now, is that she may plausibly have been one of those types of kids that was trafficked into this type of life. And if she was, I feel really bad for her. Like,
right.
if she is a
Well,
victim of trafficking, I hope we can figure it out and free her because that's
I
abuse and she needs to be
know,
free.
I know people really question where her alignment is. I also
I,
do, because when somebody's in an abusive relationship on any level,
Right.
they nope, not right now, bud. They just do, like, they give and they do for their abuser, right? They tell everybody else, no, he's fine, you don't understand, he's great, he's okay. I wonder about that a lot of the time because she was the child of, I'm trying to remember, I think her dad sold car parts and her mom was a pattern maker. And so she would do fashion shows at her mom's like shop, when she was a little girl, and she wanted to go, went to an art school, so she would take the train to art school. It was like an hour away when she was in high school. But then this Zampoli guy is the guy who was like, you need to come to America. And he's sketchy, and there's not a lot on him, but he's just in that real core interconnected circle of modeling and politics.
Mm.
And
yeah.
when I hear that, I really write people off. And, maybe there's a good one in the bunch, but it's not very likely. And people ask a lot, like, why, if Trump is so anti-immigration, why are all his wives from these certain countries? And you have to remember, because Jeffrey Epstein had girls from those countries too, they have very different laws about consent, about age. Um, you have a lot of countries that were in like a communist lockdown where their parents wanted a reason to get them out of these sort of communist countries to like the
Right.
American whatever. And you had people selling, like Epstein said, he like bought children from their parents, expecting them to come over here and work. And when they didn't work, he would get very angry. And so you would get these girls who would come over and they were much more willing to do the things they were asked because where they came from, it was less of a controversy. It was less of an ethical issue or a moral issue, as it is here. And so you would see a lot of these Slavic girls. Plus, it's just that really like white culture where they like love these beautiful blonde little girls.
Right.
And you didn't see a lot in any of the pictures. I will say this again: in any of the pictures of Jeffrey Epstein, I asked you to find me some diversity on any level. And the only person, the only diversity I've ever seen in a single picture of Epstein is James Brown, and that's it. Like, he hung out with white people, he hung out with white girls, he hung out with models. Um, that's it. So I think that's why you see a lot of these Slavic women coming over because they were getting out of like these politically hard situations where they didn't have a lot. And I think their parents potentially trusted, and in hindsight, we're like, what the heck were you doing? But like they trusted people to put them in a better situation where they could earn their own way in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Ellie,
then
can I?
Sarah, you're saying, sorry, Lawrence, real quick. Someone said in the chat, and then there's Trump's relationship with Ivanka. And if you
Yeah.
look at a lot of the pictures too of people who are the girls who are on those planes with Trump, there's a very, very specific type, and they look like Ivanka. It's disgusting.
Right.
It is vile in every sense. Like I'm a girl dad. It is so
Yeah.
vile to look at your daughter and go, I want, like he said it to her face, like the thing we have in common is sex.
Right.
Like f-
Yeah.
Yeah. Disgusting.
that's so revolting.
And it's sad for me. Like, I think it's good for me to write in depthly about a lot of these things because it gives me empathy where I didn't have it before. And I still think people, they set themselves up, they deserve the consequences they get. But like when I read about the Trump kids growing up with Ivana as their mom, Ivana did her best. She was a good mom. But when you hear about the kind of situation they grew up with their dad, you feel for them. Like they struggled, as little kids. They struggled and they were very wealthy, but they never saw their dad. She said he didn't know how to connect until you turned 18 and he could talk business with you. He was very, like, when he would have affairs, he didn't hide them. So, like, he took his family to, I don't remember where it was, but they would go skiing every year. And he would hide Marla Maples in a hotel room so that he could go on vacation with his family and still have an affair down the hall. And,
Crazy.
and right. And then the press would be there and everything got back to the kids and they would, it was hard on the kids. And so I get why I partially get why they're a mess now. They still are adults and they can still reap what they sow. But yeah, I think writing these articles and digging deep into the backstory of people's lives, it shows you why people are messed up and how important therapy is and
Right.
like and how much of an effect money has on you, right? Money is poison.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
uh, and I
Can
think
I
we
ask a? I don't want to derail this topic. This is a
sure.
fascinating topic, but there's, I guess, I'm listening to you talk, Ellie, and thank you so much. You know so much about this topic. It's really, really impressive. The thing that keeps coming to my mind is how did this basically happen out in the open for so many years? When you think about what was going on, it was so clearly something sketchy was happening, and it was right in plain sight. And how did like political classes and financial classes and big institutions just sort of turn a blind eye? Is it just really that money and power have the ability to, make everybody go, "These are not the droids we're looking for"?
Right. I think it's a few different things. I think yes, when you have money and power, you can get away with more. I think that's probably pretty typical. But we also have to think about when this was happening. And when we look back on the 90s, there's a lot of stories similar to this. Like, you think of the stories of like child actors in the 90s and what they went through. And you think of like, I don't know, I don't want to say like, I don't know, but you think of these stories that come up in documentaries and they're all kind of out of the 90s and the 80s. We were not looking for that stuff back then. Like, you guys know, when you were kids, were your parents like with you all the time when you were playing with your friends, or were you gone all day and you came home for dinner, right? Like,
Right.
there wasn't as much supervision. There wasn't as much talk of like molestation and how to protect yourself and women's rights and Me Too, right? There wasn't any of that, and so you combine this era where there weren't as many rules about supervision and child work, work release laws, and and then just the idea of reporting and how to do it and knowing how to report back then. Like, you mix that all in with this society of billions of dollars that's coming at you from politics, it's coming at you from Hollywood, it's coming at you from just New York industry, big industry. And there wasn't, it's the same reason the mob got away with things for so long, right? If you can hand someone $1 million check, they're not going to be like, oh, you're going to jail. They're going to take the check. So I think as we moved out of that era, a lot of the people who were involved with it started to realize, as we got into social media and things like that, started to realize, oh crap, I have to tone it down, and pulled back. And as Jeffrey Epstein got a reputation and information spread more quickly back then, most people disappeared from that scene toward the end, except for Steve Bannon, apparently. But most people disappeared, and he was left with this bloated sense of confidence that even his friends were like, you are going to get in trouble, because they knew what he was doing, right? They knew financially what he was doing, they knew what he was doing with women, and they said he just lost all sense of shutting up. Basically, he was a person who lived his life for show. And you'll hear that from a lot of reporters when they would go in his house. He'd be like, this cost this much, and this ugly thing over here was $1 million, and aren't I so great? But it was just hideous on the surface because he didn't know how to be that wealthy. And it was the same thing for his power. He didn't know how to be powerful, so he abused it. And he didn't, he's the same, I mean, parallel to Donald Trump. He doesn't know when to shut up when he's doing something illegal. He brags about it instead. And that was his downfall. And thank God, but before all that, we didn't really we didn't really tell stories about people being sexually abused. I don't remember any stories back in the day about that kind of thing.
Sure.
And it just wasn't considered couth, to put that kind of thing in a newspaper. And so people quietly, swept things under the rug, and it was a lot easier back then.
Yeah. I've said this publicly before. I'm 55. When I was 8, I was molested in a shopping mall, and and you're right. Like, people didn't talk about it. It was something that I
Mm-hmm.
you know kept secret for a really really long time because nobody knew how to handle it.
Right.
And I think that it seems strange from the perspective of 2025 to look back at what Epstein was doing
Right.
and realize how much was out there in the open. But you're right, people just sort of ignored it. They didn't talk about it.
Right. Well, I mean, growing up, in hindsight, probably what was it, 1 in 4, 2 in 4 of the girls that I would have known were sexually molested at some point in their life.
Right.
And and it was just common, and a lot of it, is family. You get family members or people like that, but it's that sense of, just don't talk about that. Like, just move on. Don't talk about it, because it's hard for your parents to have to deal with. It's especially if it's a family member, right? That they have to deal with something like that. But can you imagine, a child going to their parent and being like, this $1 billion, huge guy in New York City molested me. Can you go fix it? Like,
Right.
right? Couldn't even. I think like if it happened to me, how would I even afford a lawyer, right? Like, and then you're going up against a guy with $1 billion who's got Alan Dershowitz and a bunch of idiots at his side.
Is there any evidence that he paid off parents? Like, did people come to him and he, like made them sign an NDA for 100 grand or something? Did that happen?
Sure. Because if you think about it, there was upwards of 1,000 women, and probably most of them were underage. He thought 19 was old. So probably I would assume so, yeah. But there's no evidence that I've come across, at least, that shows that he paid off anyone. But you have to remember his entire finances were um, like a blank slate. They're nowhere. You can't find them. And also there were these money transfers that they talk about. That there was 4,000 money transfers that went back and forth, and that were flagged by the banks for being payment for women. So you also have to think is he was paying the women as prostitutes, even if they were children or adults. So they were making money from him, but they were also told if you tell somebody what you're doing is illegal, it's illegal to be a prostitute, so you will go to jail. And so he held that over their head that if they told, then they would be the one who was punished. So I think, yes, they were being paid, but I think it was the fear of retribution for them if they said something. Because there was, I mean, even, I'm trying to remember who it was. It might have been Maria Farmer, it might have been Virginia Giuffre, but like got threats over the phone from Ghislaine Maxwell, like threatening over the phone, like you will never have a career again, your family will disappear, like threats for a long time. So I mean, there was a lot of fear for these girls because they didn't have support, they didn't have money, they didn't necessarily have family, they certainly didn't have like the support of a police department somewhere or a legal team. They were a lot of them from really rough situations. And if in a situation like Virginia Gray, she had been sucked in, like even before she was 14, she was a part of another sex ring from another guy who went to prison. So this was the second time, at least, that this had happened to her. So she felt like she had no credibility to speak up because it must be her fault it's happened to her twice, even though she was a child both times.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier something that, and I'm sorry, I know that there's feedback when I speak. It's not something that we can control. I hope people understand that. Um, Ghislaine Maxwell was not just a co-conspirator in this. She is also a pedophile. She actively abused many of these girls as well. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. In a weird, it is also one of those, like, I hold her completely accountable on the same level as I hold Jeffrey Epstein because I think she funded him in the first place. I also think she was obsessed with him and would do whatever he asked her to do. So I think there was a little bit of that, but she did it and she chose to do it. And she was very much a legal adult when she did all these things. The thing that I found interesting, because there are several depositions that talk about the things that she specifically did to the girls, and sometimes Jeffrey was not even involved when she did. Sometimes it was just her. Um, losing my train of thought. Backpedal for a minute. Sorry.
No, that train sometimes goes. We gotta reset.
um, but I think, oh, that's what I was gonna say. Sorry, guys. The thing that I found really fascinating in all of this is when I've been writing about these people, all of them are culpable. I write about like Steve Bannon, Jeffrey Epstein, Alan Dershowitz, Leslie Wexner, and then I wrote about Melania and Ivana and Ghislaine Maxwell and Emily Taylor, and some of these people are absolutely vicious in the comments in the stories about the women. The stories about the men, they're like, this is fascinating and so gross. I can't believe it. The women, thousands of comments, thousands of more reads, cutting. Like the things that they say are cutting. And yes, the women are culpable, but like on a society level, we are punishing them way harder. And I think that you see that too with Ghislaine Maxwell going to prison, and she's like the only one, and she should be in prison, but like, where's everybody else? And I find that
Yeah.
really interesting that people are very, you know, I've heard a lot of like, well, they should be punished because they're part of the sisterhood. Don't do this to sisters, but it's like the men should be punished. I mean, like everybody should be punished. Like there's no more criminality in any one person. And so I found that just really fascinating. I've been like stepping back and just looking at my stats for my articles, and the ones about women committing crimes get so much more feedback and like have more arguments in the comments, and like just that's where you see all the trolling. I just found that interesting. Sorry, that was a side.
So, can you talk to us a little bit about some of the key male figures who have not been deposed yet that you think maybe should have been or should be?
Well, I think obviously Les Wexner is a big one because he gave Epstein two properties worth millions and millions of dollars. Like
Mhm.
the house, I think, was worth $50 million, and he just like did a title for $0. I think they paid for the cost of the paperwork. That's a big one because his friends were like, all of a sudden he started dyeing his hair and he started changing the way he dressed around friends and like cutting people out of his life and just hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein. And people wondered, is there like a relationship there? But ultimately, he just knew the most about Jeffrey Epstein more than anyone. And he's never been deposed. Steve Bannon, that guy. He just showed up all of a sudden in 2017. He'd been kicked out of the White House. It was supposedly like a gentle breakup. Kicked out, and then he went in and I think he gave some quotes from Michael Wolff's book that were a little bit disparaging towards Trump, and then, you know, all hell broke loose. He was obsessed with like spies and becoming a spy and being near spies, knowing spies. And he thought Epstein was a spy because that's the conspiracy theories, Mossad and working with Robert Maxwell and potentially the CIA and intelligence and everything. We don't know if that's true or not, but Bannon was positive, and so he meets Epstein in 2017, and they become fast friends, like buddies. Um, he and then this is at a period of time when everybody's kind of disappearing from Epstein's life because it's becoming clear, you know, he's a sleaze bag. So Bannon starts interviewing him on camera, going to his house every day and doing these interviews because he says that he wants to help him with his image. He wants to bring him back into the fold and like bring back good guy Jeffrey Epstein and like convince people that he's not so bad. Like he's like he said he was media training him. Um, then, you know, Epstein gets arrested, goes to jail, dies. And so, of course, Bannon's like, no, 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 that's not what I was doing. I really wanted to just out him, and we were going to make a big. He said he was going to make a 15-hour documentary, but he only had 15 hours of interview. If you know about making documentaries, they're usually like 30, 40, 50 hours of interview can go into one 90-minute documentary. So
Yeah.
he didn't have enough interviews for 15 hours of documentaries. Um, but
I think
he
Michael Wolff might have 15 hours worth of
might,
documentary.
might that guy. I need him to be my best friend. Um,
You're my best friend.
but now these interviews that he took, and I was able to find a little clip of one, but all of them are now in the possession of Epstein's estate, which is run by his lawyer and his accountant, and so they're not accessible even to Bannon. Bannon can't get to them. Um, but yes, you bring up Michael Wolff. Michael Wolff is one of these guys. He's a fantastic journalist. I love him. He's so quirky. His wife's decor is the best thing I've ever seen. I love watching his videos and looking at his. Um, but he's a person that people come to and say, "Will you write a book about me?" Because that's what he does. That's what he's good at. Everybody trusts him, so he has heard probably the most dirt of anybody that I can think of. And so Jeffrey Epstein comes to him and says, I want you to write a book about me because he was a cocky bastard. And I don't know, before we knew who Jeffrey Epstein was, why would anybody want to read a book about Jeffrey Epstein? Like, none of us really cared, right? He wasn't famous. He was just a wealthy guy. but he wanted Michael Wolff to write a biography about him. Michael Wolff didn't really want to write a biography about him, but also like, you know what, let's just do some interviews. They ended up interviewing 100 hours over 5 years. Michael Wolff was the last person to talk to Jeffrey Epstein before he died. He called him and he said, "How are you doing?" And he said, "Just hang in there," was what he said. And so he's like, "Okay, you know, blah blah blah," and then he died the next day. Um,
Wait, can you repeat that
yeah,
line that he said to Michael Wolff? Because that seems oddly suspicious.
yeah.
Right.
He called Michael Wolff like the night before he died, or like within hours. And from, you know, because he could make a phone call, whatever, and he had kept in touch with Michael Wolff. Michael Wolff recognizes this is a bad guy, but he doesn't want to break that relationship. He
Hmm.
knows it's good to maintain a relationship. Um, and he said, "Oh, you know, how are you doing?" And he said something like, "I'm just hanging in there." Like it was just very cryptic, um,
Mm.
and didn't mean anything at the time. And then after the fact, he was like, "Oh shit," you know. So yeah, Michael Wolff is an interesting person, and he, like I said, his wife got him on social media. He's never had social media, and she's just been interviewing him and interviewing him, and it's so fascinating to me. Like the Daily Beast interviewed him, and he said he just wrote a book, and I just bought it. I think it's Fire and Fury is the one he just released, but he had done all these interviews, and so he included portions of the interviews in his book. And then Melania Trump did not like that. She told the Daily Beast that they had to take down any interviews with him where he was saying like that Epstein had introduced the two or whatever. And he said literally the audio book now is different than the actual physical book because she can take out this portion where he's talking about Jeffrey Epstein introducing the two. So I heard that and I immediately went out and bought the paperback book. So I was like, I need the copy that does not have the abridged information. So I got that today. Um,
Good. I'm
but
excited to hear about your analysis on it.
yeah, right. But yeah, because as you know, my job is to transcribe. That's my job in my free time. And so I listened to a lot of interviews of a lot of interesting people. And I, you know, months and months and months before any of this was a big deal, I was emailing Michael Wolff going, "Can I please listen to those tapes? Can I please transcribe those tapes? Please let me do it. I will sign whatever NDA. I won't charge you. Please let me listen to those tapes." But, you know, no such luck.
Ellie,
Such a
thank
fun.
you so much for being with us so far. You are a font of knowledge. Can
Well,
I just a quick housekeeping thing in terms of the feedback? Ellie, is there any chance your phone is resting kind of straight up on top of the desk or something?
yes, there is a chance. Here, you know what? I am going to switch to my computer and let's see if that works better. Nope, it says get the Substack app on my computer. Why is it telling me that?
Yeah, so you can only join a Substack Live from the phone.
Okay. Okay.
But if you could just kind of make sure it's angled a little bit so that the sound from the speakers isn't bouncing right back into the mic, that really
I'll
helps.
just hold it. How about that? Is this better?
So much better.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
No, that's okay. I know it's a pain to have to hold your phone,
No, it's okay.
but it really makes a difference in terms of the feedback.
Yeah. No worries.
Well, since it's just about the top of the hour, welcome, Ellie.
Thank
Welcome
you.
back. Now that you've lifted your phone, welcome back to the Demand the Epstein Files release. We're so glad you're here with us. I just want to make sure that we continue to shout that out for everyone who's here with us too. We have 351 people right now
Holy moly.
in the live. Incredible.
Flip it.
Please, if you haven't yet done so, share it. Share the live, smash the heart button, do all the things for the algorithm so that we can get 350 more people over the next hour because we still have so much good time with Ellie. She's
Yeah.
been so generous to give us this much time with her.
Yes.
Um, and I can't thank you enough for
No,
what
it's
you're
nice to be here.
doing, not just for this, but also for what you're doing for the victims and for the country in general, because it's a national problem. And there's a reason why we keep saying demand the release of the Epstein files. We put out a phrase in Latin, and I'm gonna probably butcher it, but it is divulgare fascul fasciculos Epstein. We'll figure out how to say it right. I'm not a Latin expert, um, but it means release the Epstein files. And so
Okay.
you may start seeing in banner and backbone posts every day a nice acronym of DFE, which means
Okay.
demand the release of the Epstein files in Latin, just like what happened during, yeah, I don't remember, it's Fred's thing. You'll be able to ask him here in a couple minutes when he jumps on instead of me. Um, but it goes back to the roots of democracy
Mhm.
is that we demand accountability, and we're going to demand this every day because if we demand it, just like make America great again became a slogan, because all Trump did was really repeat it over and over and over and over again. Guess what? We do the same. It's gonna break through.
Yeah.
They listen too. They're listening. The folks are listening because this is a key cornerstone of the manosphere in a lot of ways. Is Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, they made their career on calling for the release of the Epstein files, and their career is over if they don't. So they're at an inflection point, and Ellie is doing, I wouldn't say God's work because I don't believe in God. She's
That's right.
doing America's work to continue this pressure because as she gets information out, we can then get it further out. We can then pass it to our friends. And it's just like the live effect is you share it and you pass it to one person, invite one other person to come in, and it doubles. And that's
Right.
just like democracy. So invite people in to listen because this is the information that we need to get out to people so that they can break things down. Like if you're in the chat and you're calling out big names that you want to see, we're on for 20, what, 18 more hours.
God
Like
bless.
Six
call
down.
out
Yeah,
if
18
you
more
know
hours.
if you're friends with Zev Shalev, ask him to come on. If you're friends with Dean Blundell, ask him to come back in. He's been in the chat earlier today. He joined us first thing this morning and hung out. Like if you want people to come in this chat and talk about it too with us, the three of us can only do so much. Frederick, Lawrence, and I can only do so much. We're going to be on for 24 hours. We're doing a full 24-hour. We've already been on for 6 plus now, just about 6 now. Um, and so, like, we can't do too much sometimes while we're still on these lives, but you guys can. If 360 people went and just tagged Zev Shalev in a post, do you think he'd go, yeah, maybe I should go listen to that for a second and see if he wants to come on? And Ellie Leonard's on. Like, Lawrence will boot my ass out, and Zev comes in, and we get Zev and Ellie going for 2 hours. Like, come on, guys, help us help you. If you guys want Zev or Lev or even get Michael Cohen in here to answer some questions, which I
That'd be
doubt
so
he would. I follow and subscribe to him, but I think there's some sus. I've been seeing the chat of people saying sus, possibly about Michael. I don't know. I cannot say about Michael because he is super reserved about it. He's very conservative about answering those, and he's very lawyerly. He was a lawyer, and he was Donald Trump's fixer. So I
yeah.
guess I'm going to ask you, Ellie, is do you think there might be a there there?
With Michael Cohen.
Yeah, not that Michael did anything, but that maybe he is covering it up because he has to. Maybe he's under an NDA or a court order
Oh,
that we
I'm sure
don't
he's
know
under. I'm
about.
sure he has several NDAs. Um, I don't know. First off, am I all twitchy on here? I tried to move so I'd get better internet.
No, you're good now.
Okay, cool. Um, it's tough. It's really tough because you have a lot of folks who've turned around and switched sides, and it's gonna take a minute before they earn the people's trust. I think it's great. I think it's really great if somebody wants to switch sides and see the light. But you have to remember what they were fighting for just a few minutes ago when we all had the same information and we all knew what was right and wrong back then. So I don't know. I don't know if he is a mouthpiece for anybody. I don't know if I'm sure he has things he's not allowed to say. Um, yes, Sarah, I will write a book. I'll write lots of books. I'll tell you what my next book will be in a minute. Um, but yeah, he's a number in that group. Who is the other guy? Scaramucci is another one like
Hmm.
that. Who was in there for what 11 days? Um, you have Alan Dershowitz who bounces back and forth. Trust him as far as I could throw him. Um,
Exactly.
I generally don't trust somebody if they're not on Substack. I'm like, oh, they're probably not cool. Doesn't mean they're cool if they're here, but that's usually my standard. I don't know. I
Ellie,
don't
I'm
know
just
enough
gonna,
about Michael
sorry
Cohen.
to interrupt. I'm just gonna pause for 1 minute. We're
Sure.
right at the top of the hour. Just as housekeeping, we're gonna say thanks to Nick for being a kind of co-pilot on this one, and I'm gonna
Love you
bring in
guys.
Frederick, the other co-founder
Oh, I
of
can't
Banner
wait.
and Backbone.
Ellie, so
Yeah.
glad to talk to you. I'll be back in a little over an hour to talk to you again.
Okay.
And then I'm going to ask you before I go, because it's going to be a little awkward at the time, we've got Tim Fullerton who's going to be
Mhm.
coming on right after you.
Okay.
And I'm going to be taking over the live stream host right at the top of the hour
Okay.
for 9 p.m. If you're still with us, Tim, I've asked Tim if he could come on a little bit because he is interested in meeting you and saying hi. And I said I'd want to introduce the two of you.
Okay.
He's the host of the Find Out podcast, one of the hosts, and I want I want to get your word out as big as possible because it's not our word that we're getting out right now. It's Ellie's,
Oh,
and
thank you.
it's Epstein's, and it's the
Well,
Absolutely.
trash that's
I will
around it.
tell you one thing because I'm still a poor writer. Um, we have one car, and my husband has it today, and I do have to pick up my daughter from band camp um, around. I think she gets done at 8:30, which means I'll have to pop off at 8 to go get her. But unless she gets a ride home, but I can come on when I get back if that's
Fantastic. That'll make it easier.
okay.
And then
Please do it.
we'll have you on for an extra hour
Yeah,
in
sure. Once I
later in
get
the
back,
evening, maybe with Tim.
yeah, yep, totally free once I get back. Yep, that should be fine.
Awesome.
Sounds
Nick,
great.
my friend, thank you. Ellie, hang tight for just 1 minute. We're gonna boot Nick and get Fred on here. And Ellie, I'm not sure if have you met Frederick yet? I think you
Yeah.
have.
Oh yeah.
Oh, great. Excellent, excellent. I now have the power to invite, and I am tagging Fred. Hey, audience, thank you so much for hanging in there with us. Thanks through the technical difficulties. And we appreciate you for being here. If you are just joining us, or if you joined recently, this is the launch of Banner and Backbone. We are doing a 24-hour launch marathon. It's myself, Nick Perro, and Frederick Pogue. And of course, we are super lucky to have Ellie Leonard on with us right now. She has investigated so much about what is going on with the Epstein files, and she's sharing all of that knowledge with us. And here is Frederick Pogue. Fred, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good. I've walked the dog. It's raining here in Colorado. I'm drinking old coffee. Love it.
You
You
touched
know.
some grass.
I did, and I've met Ellie. I mean, I've pretty much just sat and kind of nodded as she just dropped knowledge for like an
I
hour.
talk a lot.
No, it's. I
It's
mean, it's
brilliant.
fascinating. It's interesting because before I let you launch again, Ellie, so it says you still don't consider yourself a journalist,
I
right?
don't. I have a lot of like imposter syndrome about that.
Yeah. No, but I mean, the interesting thing is, it's fascinating because I don't know. So one of the authorities in sort of a history is Barbara Tuchman,
Mm.
and Barbara Tuchman, and this is World War One. She wrote a book called The Guns of August. She was a journalist and she was a housewife. And for a long time, she didn't get her kudos because it was like, oh, she's just a popular historian. But she did phenomenal work, right? So you see this throughout history where muckrakers, journalists, truth tellers, they're not the professionals. You have that, sure, but it's folks like yourself that just kind of get a cause and say, all right, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
You
I'm
know,
just very curious, I guess. I'm curious by nature. I think Nick was calling me a nosy bitch. Which,
Ellie,
that could be true too. That could be true.
can I ask
I
what?
tagged you in a meme. It was like,
Yeah, right.
it said history is written by nosy bitches,
Nice, Ellie.
and
What was it about this
I was like,
case in
it's Ellie
particular?
Leonard.
I just, I grew up with a lot of talkers, and my daughter's the same way. She would much rather sit in a room with adults and just silently listen to them than hang out with kids her own age, because she just likes to know, like, and I guess I'm the same way. I would love to, like, know the dish without being a part of the dish. I don't like being involved with drama, but, like, if somebody wants to, like, mention it around me, that's great. but I also want to, like, with integrity, relay information. I don't want to be like, like I said, I always worry about being like a tabloid or something. I never want to be a writer. I never want to be like a TMZ reporter or somebody who's there just for salacious reasons. That makes my skin crawl. So I try, like, if I'm writing something that is saying something horrible about somebody, I need it to make sure that there's actual evidence and this person is a bad person and they really did it and there's paperwork, and I'm just relaying that information. I'm not just trying to ruin their reputation for any reason. So anyway.
It's kind of amazing when you look back at, again, you look back at history. I mean, even Watergate, um, all these scandals that were just not really out in the open, but all someone had to do was just kind of take a peek behind the curtain,
Mhm.
and with Epstein, it's like, I said this on my segment. It's like all this is out there, like the files, sure, like release them, but
Right.
this isn't the Warren Commission. This isn't some deep conspiracy.
Mhm.
We have the victims. It's out there.
Right.
Right.
you know and I think a lot of times it takes people like yourself to do the hard work to, kind of compile it and put it in a cohesive narrative that people can understand, like, hey, this, like most people don't think. I remember it was on a live, you were talking about uh you mentioned it in the last hour, um the billionaire that gave Epstein the house, and then Howard
Oh,
Lutnick
that's, yeah.
owned the house next door,
Mm-hmm. And you know
and
what? That was
and
a
they turned it
Substacker.
into,
Someone on
yeah.
Substack told me that while I was wandering around downtown. They go, that house next door is Howard Nuttix, and I went, turned around, and went back.
And that's the craziest thing, is like they literally turned it into like a dorm, a brothel dorm for these
Yeah, I
for
don't
these
know.
girls
Yeah,
right next door, where Epstein's living. And it's like, oh yeah, I don't have any underage girls over here. They're right next door.
yeah. And if you look at how these houses are built, because they're all from, I don't know what year, because I'm not, I don't know architecture, but I also do know that you have these brownstones, and like I was mentioning before, if they're before a certain year, they all have servant entrances that go underneath the stairs, and that's how you know it's an older one, because servants and slaves had to enter underneath the stairs. They couldn't go through the front door, and a lot of these are interconnected, right,
Mhm.
through these buildings. And so I don't know, like, it would be interesting if somebody could somehow connect with the people who live in or own these buildings now, who are completely unconnected to this story but just own the property, and say, what's the deal with this house, like, how does it work, how does it connect, what have you found? But I'm sure that people who live in there want nothing to do with the story. They don't want
Well,
to answer any questions. They want to be left alone. But then why would you buy that house too? I don't really get that at all.
Yeah, I
that
it's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, no, it would be hard to figure out why anyone would buy that house if they know anything about the case. But it would be fascinating to understand how those houses are connected.
Yeah,
Or
right.
it's like Trump. It's like, I don't know anything about Jeffrey Epstein, but I'm going to buy his plane for my 2024 campaign.
Right.
So he buys Jeffrey Epstein's aircraft as another Trump plane. And it's like, okay, you could buy literally tons of other used aircraft, but you bought that one.
And I believe one of the planes was actually Les Wexner's plane too. Now that I'm thinking about it, got lots of stuff from that guy. Somebody needs to talk to that guy before he died.
Well, I mean, Epstein's not Epstein without Les Wexner. He's not. He doesn't have the
The money or the
infrastructure to,
connections. Yeah.
yeah, to
That is
go as
my,
big as he did.
I've said this before, that is my personal opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever you want. I don't think Jeffrey Epstein had any money. I don't. I think he was a complete fraud that had lived. It's kind of like the story of him going to the Dalton School and teaching math and physics without a teaching degree at the school that costs almost 70,000 a year to go to kindergarten now. Like, I mean, he
Wow.
went there without a teaching degree, got a job teaching physics, went and got his fellowship at Harvard. Like, he was really good at faking people out and pretending like he had something before he had it,
Hmm.
and lived his life on IOUs. And so people gave him things assuming that he had money or he was giving endowments and this stuff. And I think he got everything kind of after the fact, after the fact, after the fact, but he never had it in the first place. I think it
Wow.
was a total sham. I don't think he was a billionaire because there's no record of it. I think he told people he was, and thus they dealt with him like he was. They gave him things like he was, and I think he was a fraud. That's my, and it's totally my own opinion. It's not based on anything, but I just, it's something that like eats away at me that he, it's like that movie Catch Me If You Can, where the kid goes and he like flies planes for, a commercial jetliner. Like, it's like that. He went through life pretending he already was something in order to be that something, and then getting credibility afterward. And thus he knew everybody, he hung with everybody, everybody thought he was famous and rich and everything, but it was actually them and not him. I don't know, that's just my opinion.
It's really interesting when you start peeling back this sort of world like this, how easy it is um to get by with it. And I think a lot of it is because the people that could call it out just don't, right?
Mm-hmm.
'Cause like there's this, you've heard of Dunning-Kruger, right? You
No.
know. Okay, so there was two psychologists years ago. They postulated this hypothesis. It was called Dunning-Kruger, right? And what Dunning-Kruger is there is a correlation between people who are either not that educated, they're lower education, lower expertise, are very sure about what they know and what they don't know. And consequently, people who are highly educated and have high expertise actually diminish what they know, right? So there's this correlation between comp. So I think a lot of that is why these people, these con artists, can get through this is because the people that could check them go, well, maybe that's okay. I guess I could kind of see that. Like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not sure of themselves, right?
Yeah.
And so instead of going like, hey, this guy's a fraud. He doesn't know anything about physics,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And it makes it worse when you're charismatic and you have something to offer in the form of young women or a
Right.
party or any of that kind of stuff. Because that's, I mean, a lot of the, like you mentioned on another previous podcast, that's what these men at like Harvard, were these professors, people who should know better, were
Right.
attracted to,
Right.
right?
Well, I interviewed a friend of mine. Her husband went to Harvard during the time that Jeffrey Epstein was there, and he said he actually ended up staying in this apartment over winter break because he couldn't afford to go home because he was a foreign exchange student. He couldn't afford to go home, so he stayed in this like student apartment that was actually funded by Jeffrey Epstein. So he's like, that's what I got from Jeffrey Epstein. But he was really interesting to talk to because he said you had all these professors who were getting some funding, but again, it was one of those things where he promised funding to their department and then didn't really follow through on it. But it was always because he was going to, he just got, I mean, everything, he was top dog on campus, had his own office, had his own key card until 2018, like until he died almost.
Wow.
He had this like
Wow.
12 years. Um,
Wow.
and he said the appeal was just that, like you would have all these people who were fairly innocent, obviously not involved in sex rings. They were very nerdy, possibly on the spectrum, Harvard professors, and they see this guy who all of a sudden wants to hang out with them, who is just like it's like the jock in high school. It's like the captain of the football team all of a sudden wants to hang out with the chess club, and they're just enamored with him.
Mhm.
And that was the appeal. And I think that was the appeal with people like Leslie Wexner and some of these people that you're just like, why are you hanging out with him? Like, it doesn't make any sense. You don't match. And it was a lot of that, like, I have all the money, I have everything, but I have no idea how to talk to women, right? I have no
Right.
idea how to, I don't know how to meet someone from Hollywood and hang out with them at a party. Like, I don't have any of that. I teach evolutionary biology at Harvard, and then I go home and I eat my casseroles, at night. And it was just this appeal of hanging with proximity to stardom, right? And
Yep.
that this guy wanted to hang out with him, which I don't know if he really wanted to hang out with him. He had a weird math thing. He taught math at Dalton. And then there were stories where he would like sexually assault girls, and then like, now we're gonna sit and watch a PBS special on math like together as like a cool down, like really weird. So he had a weird math thing. I think that was something that he liked, but he couldn't hack it. He dropped out of school. So I don't know.
That last part just really threw me.
Random, right?
Like what?
Yeah, like
Like
sit down. Let's sit down and watch PBS, kids.
yeah, like what? Like you know, just I can't even process that. It's
I,
like
There's a
it
you
lot of
have
weird stories. See, these are the things that I look for. That I'm like, oh, no one's talked about that. Okay, let's
even
find out. What can we do?
PBS is tainted now
I
because
right.
of
know,
Jeffrey
no.
Epstein.
PBS
It's just
still wins. Go
banality
become a
of
member. If
evil.
you're on here, become a member of PBS.
Right.
What?
It's the banality of evil, right? Like,
Right,
Yeah,
oh, and then they sat down and watched PBS together, and you're just
right,
like, what a weirdly
right,
normal kind of thing to do. But
right.
I guess
Yeah,
because for him it's they're both the same thing, right?
yeah,
It's that's that sociopathic behavior at some point. I was you
yeah.
know that it's like sexual assault and watching PBS.
I,
Tomato
I don't.
tomato.
Yeah, I don't think. I was talking to a friend about this yesterday about like a smaller case in our own town. Um, but like the idea that when people come away from these situations where they're punished for, there's some kind of a consequence because they committed sexual assault, they don't feel bad for having done something wrong. They feel
Yeah.
bad for getting in trouble.
oh,
And
right.
that's what keeps somebody like a Donald Trump from wanting to brag about the things that he did, even though he used to. He used to brag all the time.
Yeah.
Now he knows that he would get in trouble. He doesn't think that any of it's wrong. He would still do it today if he could. But he knows that he will lose popularity, right? Popularity is currency, and he knows that he will get in trouble, and that is his worst case scenario, is to get in trouble, and he hasn't had to so far, and he's never had to because he's always had the finances. So that's like that sociopathic behavior. And I also, this is kind of a weird tangent, but like, when we talk about all these stories and there's so much conspiracy, right, with this
Yeah.
whole case, I am very practical about conspiracies because I grew up with a conspiracy theorist, and everything was a conspiracy. Like everything is a just wait and see, just wait, you'll find out, you'll see this all in 2 weeks, you'll know what happened. It's a lot of that. I don't lean conspiracy when I think of things like Epstein killing himself in jail. What I think about when I think of Epstein killing himself in jail is that sociopathic behavior of like not that he was depressed, not that he was just like, I'm gonna end it all. I think he was just like, I'm bored, and this is just something I'm gonna do because who cares? Like, why not? Let's mess. You know what I mean? Whether he meant to kill himself or not, like I just don't think he cared. I think he was like, this, screw it. I don't. I think he was impulsive. I think he probably didn't plan it. I think he
Yeah.
was just like, I'm just gonna do this. Why not? I don't think he was depressed. I don't think he was sad. I think he was just impulsive and being stupid and being a bro and just being like, screw it, I'm just gonna kill myself. Why not? I'm bored. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to explain that, or I don't know how to put that into words, but I just feel like that's how he dealt with his entire life, was just like, I'm gonna go over here and do this now. I didn't plan it, but I'm gonna do it. And so I think he probably did kill himself, but I just think that it wasn't like he was any frame of mind of where he was just like, oh, I'm so sad, I'm gonna take myself. I just think he was just like, hey, well, wonder what that would do. Okay, let's just try. That kind of a thing.
Wow.
He just was so sociopathic. He didn't have emotions. Like, he didn't have the capability of having emotions about something like that. He didn't have the ability to be devastated or to say, "Oh, I've lost everything." He probably thought he could get out if he wanted to get out. He probably, he'd done it before. When he got arrested in 2006, he had 3 dozen women come forward, and he got 13 months in. Like, he was supposed to go to prison. They put him in county jail for 13 months and let him have work release 12 hours a day. 3 dozen women had said he had sexually assaulted them. So
Wow.
I'm sure he didn't think he was going to prison for the rest of his life. So I don't know. That's just my take on it. I have weird takes about everything. Like, I will think the opposite of everybody else probably, but
No, I mean that it's funny because that's one thing like why I don't steer into conspiracy theories because I'm historically trained. I've studied
right.
history, and you read some things and you're just like this big event where it's like this it's going to be this Titanic thing building up to it. And it's like what happened? It's like oh he died crossing the street. He slipped on horse shit and
Yeah.
fell and hit the back of his head, and you're
Right.
like that's how it ends? And they're like, yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah.
That
Right.
sounds
And,
very
And
specific,
when
Frederick.
you
Is that
hear
a
of
is
those
that a real
speech,
life
don't think
example?
zebras, right?
no, so it's kind of taken from real life examples. So like I had my family's from the South, and I had a Harmon who's like related to me. They all fought in the Civil War, and they were in the Western Theater for the Confederates. Survived Vicksburg, survived everything. 4 years of the war, not a scratch, nothing. Right,
Mm-hmm.
and he was my great great uncle. He's on his way home back to Macon, Mississippi. It's a crowded train platform. He's out on the front,
Oh
right?
no.
Young man. As the train's pulling up, somebody bumps him. He falls in front of the train,
Mm.
runs over both his legs, cuts them off. He dies
From
there.
femoral artery.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, didn't get scratched the whole war,
Yeah.
like nothing. Like, and then on his way home, and like survived starvation, survived the siege
Mm-hmm.
of Vicksburg, all this stuff, right? And you're just like, that's how he died? Yeah,
I
that's
know.
how he
I
died.
know it's like people surviving the Holocaust and then they died because like their stomachs couldn't eat food anymore. You know what I
Right.
mean? When they were finally like taken out and fed, that like killed them. It's horrible. Like, this
Yeah,
just
we literally had to
uh,
develop like high calorie peanut butter and those special biscuits now that they have that
mhm.
Canada was dropping in Gaza
Right.
because of what we learned from the Holocaust.
Yeah.
That we would try to feed the survivors real food. They just throw it up
Yeah.
because their stomachs just couldn't absorb it at that point. And
Mhm.
and you're talking about people on death's door, and it's like, hey, you're saved. It's like, no,
Have some spaghetti. Nope.
no,
Well,
can't
so
do it.
all right, we talked about conspiracy theories, and we talked about now tangentially Gaza and the Holocaust. So
Mhm.
I'm curious, like the conspiracy theory of all conspiracy theories here, Ellie.
Yeah.
You mentioned it briefly before. The idea that somehow Epstein was a Mossad spy. I'm sure you've encountered this idea.
Yeah.
What do you think about it? What is your take?
I don't know. I don't know that I know enough about specifically the Mossad thing to have a take on it. I do know that he was very connected with Robert Epstein, or sorry, Robert Maxwell, who is Ghislaine's father, and that was a very weird relationship. Like, her father was kind of a gangster, which is weird because he was via the publishing industry, which is just the most random crossover for me. He owned a bunch of publishing houses. He owned like the Daily Mirror, owned all these newspapers, but he was money laundering the entire time. So he
Hmm.
ended up stealing something like $460 million from the pensions of his workers. Um,
Wow.
yeah, he was not a good guy. And his wife was amazing. They were an interfaith marriage. Like, he was Jewish. She was, I think, Protestant. I don't think she was Catholic. Um, but she spent her life advocating and teaching about the Holocaust. Like she on behalf of her husband's family, she like searched for their family history. She would give all these, she would travel around the country and like speak. She was really, really amazing. And so he owed all this money to a lot of bad dudes. They found him floating naked in the Atlantic. The story was he died of a heart attack, but that was like what was printed in his own newspapers, kind of a thing. And and his wife was left with nothing. On
Oof.
paper, it said that he had nothing, right? That he was in debt. He had no money when he died. But he was very close with Jeffrey Epstein, and he had said, if anything happens to me, take care of my daughter. All of a sudden, Jeffrey Epstein's rich. So likely the logical thing is he had money that was not accounted for, like offshore funds or whatever like that. I don't know about the Mossad thing because I did a little like family history piece on them, and the most that really comes up about her dad is his publishing stuff. But the really weird thing is he was like, wasn't he buried on like the Mount of Olives or something?
Right.
Like something that's like saved for like dignitaries and
Right.
these
Super
world
sacred.
leaders. And his wife didn't get to be buried there. She was buried in like a normal cemetery. Which was interesting because he was a politician for a little bit, but like nothing to warrant being buried where he was buried. So that is a little bit weird. But I couldn't find any like legitimate evidentiary connections with him and the Mossad. But I also think that that would be its own article. I believe because that's really complicated, obviously, and it's a big story that people wonder about. But I
Right.
do know that when he died, Ghislaine takes off for America with Jeffrey Epstein, and all of a sudden they're rich, right? And my guess is she got that ball rolling in the beginning for the
Oh
two.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that, if I, and again, I don't know, I'm just speculating.
Mm.
I think a lot of this has to do with like, I can't remember the guy's name, but he was the host of the Gong Show.
The Gong Show.
And yeah, this
Oh,
was back in the 70s, like it was called the Gong Show. And
totally.
he claimed to be a CIA agent.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things with the people that it was like a thing back in the 70s for like some of these bullshit artists. Like you're talking about the day where, like you did like martial, like you didn't have UFC, and so you had like martial arts and mysterious secrets from the Far East that one punch death touch, that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's an interesting kind of history because there was a guy named he in Hollywood, he renamed himself Dante, right?
Okay.
And he took this lie so far as he went to another karate school, right? Like I don't know if you've ever read comics, the ads in the back where
Mm-hmm.
it's
Oh
like
yeah.
from the 80s where it was like learn the secrets of the mysterious arts of
Yeah.
the
You could
fighting art.
order anything off the back of a catalog and it would never
That
come.
Dante started that stuff.
Okay.
And he took it so far as he actually went to another school and beat up the instructor in front of all the students, right? And then how he got killed was so he went to another one and they were going to shoot up the place and burn it down, and he got trapped and killed through arson, his own arson.
Mm-hmm.
So but no, I say that because it feels to me, and the reason I'm bringing this up is like a serial liar like Jeffrey Epstein
Mm-hmm.
might tell somebody like Steve Bannon, it's like, oh yeah, I can't talk about it, but
Right.
it's
I
yeah,
I
because of
think he's also
Ghislaine's
yes.
dad, right? It's like maybe he did some stuff
Yeah.
during World War
There was
II.
some daddy issues there, which is
Yeah, and that's one of those. Yeah, Chuck Berry. Thank you. That was the guy who ran the Gong Show, and so I think that might be what it is. Like for a guy like Epstein, where it's just like, yeah, I can't talk about it, but you know,
I think that's how he
Jewish.
dealt with everything. Was like I can't
Yeah,
talk about
and
it, but I
and
have this thing over here.
and it kind of fits because
Right.
from what we think of a spy, right? Because how we think of a spy is not Valerie Plame,
No.
right? Like that's not what we think of a spy. We think of a,
Like
like
James Bond.
exactly James Bond, where it's like,
Yeah.
well, he's around all these beautiful women. He seems to be able to get anywhere he wants.
Yeah.
He's a, he's he fits that mold. So this kind of legendary status would get put to him where it's like, oh, he's Messiah. And I think that's kind of where it comes from. If I had to guess, I
Yeah.
don't know, but that's usually what this is, right? It's,
It was a bunch.
because
It was a
yeah,
lie upon a lie upon a lie. But I think,
right.
unlike Donald Trump, I think Jeffrey Epstein was good at maintaining them. Like he could keep
Mhm.
that. You know, he wasn't. He wasn't necessary. Like people didn't say he was that intelligent. They said he didn't tie his shoes on his own, right? So he had someone to do that for him. But there were certain things that he was incredibly intelligent at, and one of them was manipulation. And he could convince anybody. You know, he'd be a great snake oil salesman, which he was. Is he could convince anybody. You know, what are they? What's the saying? Like you could buy ice in Antarctica or something like that, or
Right.
sell ice.
Yeah,
Right. He
so
could.
you could sell ice to Eskimos,
Right. Right. Right.
or well,
So
yeah, they're not called Eskimos anymore,
right.
but that's kind of the old saying.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so like just that idea that he was really good at convincing, you know, and he knew how to butter people up and tell them what they wanted to hear and that they were great too. And I think as I learned more and more about Epstein, I was just like, man, he's just like he's a clone of Donald Trump, if not
Yes.
more popular and better looking, maybe, but like personality wise, there's some psych professor somewhere who's going to write a book about all of this because it is just such a breakdown on sociopathy and narcissism and the combination of the two and how far that can get you in a society when you don't care about consequences and can convince the people around you that you're better than them. Like how far can you go? And they both showed that.
It's interesting because it's funny. Like, I wasn't a police officer, but one of the things I got trained on when I was in American Airlines, because we had to do a lot, especially the hub, and I worked in Philadelphia. They basically trained us on how to do investigations, right, for employees lying to you, and and so there's two ways where you can figure this out. Like, one is a lie has a good amount of truth in it, so you
Mm-hmm.
can't differentiate between the lie and the truth. And the other way is like it sounds true, but you can't verify it, you
Right.
know. And it depends, and so like I'm a Mossad agent, or like wink wink.
Right.
That's one way to go with that. And the other, I mean, and so, or people don't want to look,
Well,
and
and
it's
you
and
gotta
that's
remember, all this was happening pre-internet. Like he was in his heyday pre-internet, so we didn't have the
oh, of
ability.
course,
Trump
yeah.
Trump thinks we're still there. He thinks that he still has that going for him. So when he lies, he's just always shocked that we know how to look stuff up because and you know you have to give him credit. A lot of his strongest pieces of his base are the people who are not internet savvy, right? And who don't look these things up. So, but like he's still in that mentality that I'm going to tell you something and you have no way of verifying it. And it's like we do. We could look up several.
And I'll give the audience, this is a tip if you want to try to catch people in a lie. It's
Yeah.
There's ways to do it, but one, just let them talk, right? You don't try to refute every single thing they say. You let them expound, right?
Yeah.
Because the one thing people that lie, they come up with they're very detailed, you know.
Mhm.
Because most people, like, when they tell you something that's true, they don't provide you a lot of details. It's like, hey, you were late getting home. What happened? It's like, oh, I stopped at the store and I had to grab something,
Right.
you know. But it's like, you know, if they're lying, it's like, hey, you were late getting home. What happened? Oh, well, I was on my way. And so when I
Yeah.
got to the light over at Mitchell, I remembered that, we only have a quarter of a gallon of milk left. And I thought, man, I got to go get. Now, sometimes people, they're on the spectrum or whatever, and they're very
Right.
detail oriented, and that's what they do. But the thing about it is
Right.
when you're talking to these people, you've got to remember what is one, let them talk, and what is the main thing you're trying to find out. Everything else is superfluous, right?
Right.
What's the main thing that you're trying to find out? You know,
Well,
and so
I think
yeah,
a I think a really good example of that this week was when they were or this week or last week was when they were asking Donald Trump how he broke it off with Epstein. Like what was the cause of the breakup of their relationship and he said it was
mm,
stealing his employees. And then they said, "Oh, was Virginia Giuffre one of those employees?" And he goes, "Yeah, yeah, I think she was." And it's like he had 150 employees, and that girl was a locker room attendant.
Right.
Never would
Yep.
have known she existed, never would have known her name. It's not possible that he would have known who she was unless he had some kind of consistent interaction with her. And she wouldn't have been in his locker room. I guarantee you he wasn't using the locker room.
Because
Um,
yeah, because if he was truthful, he would have said, "Oh, I never met her during her time in
right,
Mar-a-Lago."
right. Save yourself, right? But he doesn't know how to. He doesn't know how to lie. I mean,
Right.
he thinks he knows how to lie, but he doesn't know how to lie. His lies are really, really basic. They're a lot like when you have a small child and they try to lie and it's very, very obvious and you're trying to save them and be like, "Come on, man, just tell
Yep.
us." But he thinks he's got you. He's just so positive. And I mean, potentially the truth is so much simpler with how they
Mhm.
broke up is over real estate, right?
Yeah.
But why would you put yourself now in the room with Virginia Giuffre because you thought it was going to save you from being in the room with Virginia Giuffre? You just now put yourself in the room with her. Like, just say that you fought over real estate. That's what's in the news. Like, save yourself.
Right.
Yeah, because if
Making
I'm doing this investigation on him and I'm just listening to him talk, even I'm not a trained expert on it. I'm not a trained like police officer, but I'm listening to him talk and I'm just going like, oh, there's the lie, because the real answer would just be like, what it to your point, why did you break up with Jeffrey Epstein, or that was a real estate deal went bad.
right.
Right.
Super simple, and that's what it's always been said that it was, and it's on paper that they wanted the same house. Trump got it and sold it. Turned around and sold it to a Russian bigwig, but that's another story. But yeah, that's the simplest answer. But he thinks that if he says he wasn't in the room with Virginia Giuffre, or he knows her, but whatever, he thinks he's saving himself from the story of Virginia Giuffre. But what he's done is he's just inserted himself in it, and now
Exactly.
Virginia Giuffre, who
Yeah,
said
because if you yeah, because you when you're lying, you think all these unnecessary details make the lie, oh, it's more credible. It's like, baby, I didn't cheat on you. I was actually broke down and I was like, I got to
right,
change this tire because my wife's who I
right.
love dearly, is going to be worried. It's like, I didn't want you to worry, because I'm a faithful and good husband. It's like,
I didn't ask that question.
Right.
right.
Right. And
It's,
also, none of these tires on this car have been changed. So,
Right,
what's up?
it's,
right. I,
what? And so you start, and that's why you let them talk, is they add unnecessary details,
mm-hmm.
right? They add, and if you just and honestly, like that, a lot of time. And I was in Philly for about 2 years, and I must have done dozens of investigations on employees. And it was just, and all it was just like, hey, you weren't at this flight. What happened? Well, blah 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 blah. It's like, oh, okay. Where'd you go? Which door did you use? Like you, it's like, go ahead and just walk me through, recreate what you did.
Right, and then
Right.
if you're interrogated another time down the line, you have to remember all the things you said the first time.
Right.
Right.
Oh. And
You know.
that goes into like that idea of back to the Woody Allen stuff. Like that was a big thing I learned about back then, was like it's very hard to coach children to lie, right? You
Mhm.
can't really coach children to say a story because they're kids. Number one, they don't even know what they're talking about. Number two, they can't hold it through two conversations. So adults are the same way. Like, you can make up a lie that sounds shitty in the first place, but you're not going to be able to say that same lie in that same context a week from now, a year from now, right? You're not going to be able to do it.
No. And if you do, you're gonna make up details.
Yeah.
You're gonna
We've all
over
watched it
explain. Yeah. And and unless, I mean, that's the thing, is like, unless it's a traumatic event and it scars you, and then maybe at that point you'll remember every single part of it.
Right.
Some people can't. The brain's kind of a funny
Right.
thing that way, but some people it's like to the minute. You
Right. Well,
know.
and it's the opposite too. Like if you say, if some horrible event happened on a day on 9/11, like we can all say exactly where we were and what we were doing on 9/11.
Hundred
Everybody has
percent.
documented in
Right.
their brain. If you come away from something like that and you're like, I don't know what I was doing that day. I don't really remember. And it's like, that's suspicious because it was a significant event.
You
And
just mentioned that. I remember the exit that I heard the second tower had been hit over the
Mhm.
radio.
Oh, for sure.
I was
Like
Every
on
passing.
the
detail.
freeway.
Yeah, I remember I was about to pass this exit. I was on my way to East Tennessee State University. It was a Tuesday. I was heading to my history of Islam class. Nope. Right.
Interesting.
Seriously, yeah, I was. I was headed to history of Islam, and I remember it was like I left my wife at the time, or she's my fiance at the or my fiance at the time. She said, plane ran into one of the towers, and I'm thinking it's probably a Cessna or something, because I was just like she hadn't turned on the TV. It was like we had the radio on, and I was like, oh, it's probably a Cessna or something. And I got in my car and I'm driving, and it took me about 25 minutes to get to that exit. And about that time, it came over the radio, and I remember going in, and everybody's freaked out. And a friend of mine who I knew from high school was like, "Bro, we're under attack. We're under attack." And I remember the guy, know his
Mhm.
name. Went into class. My professor, she canceled class. She was afraid for her safety, and they escorted her off. Like she had campus police escort her off
Sure.
campus.
Yeah.
Um, and I went home, and our neighbor was freaked out and came downstairs. We were in an apartment, came downstairs. See, and that's what you're right. It's like these
Remember
events.
everything. Yeah.
I'm reliving this day
Right.
up to my neighbor coming downstairs, and she was up watching one of these religious programs, and they were talking about the end times, and she was real religious, and she was like, "It's because of Bill Clinton,
Yeah.
because
No
of
one's
Bill
in charge of the
Clinton.
end times.
This is God's retribution." Like she's freaking out. My wife, or my girlfriend at the time, she's from Pennsylvania. She'd never been around this kind of religion. She was
Yeah.
like,
Right.
"What the hell?"
Yeah. My family's from Tennessee too, so.
Yeah, so yeah, you're right. I mean, I remember
Right.
that. I mean, I hadn't even thought about it until you said it. It was like boom,
Yeah,
popped in there.
you know exactly. Everybody's got that story, right? Everybody knows what they were doing, where they were, what the
Yeah,
circumstances were. I don't know what I was wearing, but I know what happened in the next 15, 20
yeah.
hours.
I don't remember what I was wearing either. Like, I can't even remember the shoes I had on.
No.
Like, but I can see that exit, and I remember the
Mhm.
car I was driving, and I remember, and I was it was the I man, I can picture it. It's like right there, and
So
wow.
there you go. So if something major happens and you're just like, oh, I don't know, it's just a Tuesday, I don't know, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, huge. Huge.
Hey,
So
Ellie, I've got a question for you. I know we've only got you for like 18 more minutes
sure.
before you potentially have to go pick up your kid. And I think you maybe you hinted at this earlier. If there, if you were in charge, if you had all the power and authority, what is the thread that you think you could pull that might unravel this whole thing and expose it all to the light of day? Do you have a hunch on that?
Like how we would get access to it, or just
Or,
I
or
just think I just think once people start to turn on Donald Trump, and I don't know what that thing is that he's going to do that will be the straw that breaks the camel's back, but when the administration starts to turn on him, when people are like, that's it, I cannot do this anymore, this is too much, it's ruining my future with my family and my career, I think it's going to be a windfall. I just think it's going to be one after the other, like a domino effect, and people are just going to scatter. But it's like that should have happened a long time ago. We should have hit that high point,
right.
and he keeps setting a new bar. I would have thought, with as much as Doge was digging into all of everybody's private information and had access to everything, that they would have had access to this. Um, and that Elon would have, cut and paste and took it on home with him when he got fired. I question if he did or if he didn't, or if he's holding on to some things, because Trump is not techie. His people are not techie, but Elon is techie. And if he wanted that information, he could still probably get that information.
I
Um, Go ahead.
no, I'm sorry, Ellie. The correct answer was guillotine on the Washington Mall.
Oh,
Guillotine
yeah,
on the
right.
Washington Mall.
That probably should have
Yeah.
been it.
Right.
Or the National Guard being called and taking over the city of Washington D.C. Um,
Well, at least take like rounding up the Doge and the criminals. Like, yeah, like we'll go with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I, you know, a joyful part, a point in the history of all of this, from the first administration, was when they released when the New York Times released that article that was the spy inside the Trump administration that has come out later, and it's Miles Taylor, and he's now on Substack, and he's fantastic, and I've seen him speak. That for me was just like delicious, joyful journalism. There is a mole inside the White House, because I think if I had my journalistic dream, it would be to infiltrate something and be a mole somewhere. The only place that I would never do that is the KKK. I would never do it because I'd be worried about mind control, and I don't want anybody making me like a KKK member. But like the idea of somebody working inside the administration and sending information out as they're from the inside, I think is fantastic. And I don't know why it doesn't happen more. I don't know why they're not able to break those barriers more, because you think about it, they've said with the amount of paperwork that they have inside the Epstein files, they had 1,000 FBI agents going through it. And this was when they were redacting Trump's name out of the FBI files. And I was like, you really need 1,000 people to redact his name? That's sketchy, but okay. But like you would think in 1,000 people, there would be one. You know what I mean? At least one person who would be willing to risk it all to make things public. Or people who are under an NDA around Trump who can gather up enough legal people around them to break an NDA and just
Yeah.
start talking. And I think that will happen. I don't know if people are as afraid of him as they used to be. I think he's losing his ground with that fear over his own administration and his own people. Especially like the Putin thing was just the most pathetic thing I've ever seen in my life.
A
That was
disaster.
that was sad and pathetic. Did you hear about the paperwork that was left on the printer? Did you guys hear about that?
No.
Wendy Parker just posted in the chat the article
Yeah.
that talks about, yeah, NPR has an
Yes.
article, government papers found in an Alaskan hotel
Yes.
room reveal new
Okay. So
details.
so so I have a friend who works for the LA Times, and his wife sent me this article. She's like, "Oh my god." There were three guests who were just like printing their itinerary in the hotel lobby. So they're like sending it down. They go over to the printer, and it's the incomplete itinerary for the visit with Putin, including like the table settings, who's going to sit where at the table, the menu. They were feeding him filet mignon, which, take that for what you will. Um, all the leaders who are going to be there, what times they were going to be in what places, and then
Fantastic.
they were gonna give Putin this big golden eagle statue as a gift, and they're calling him His Excellency. He's listed as His Excellency on all this paperwork. This like
Jesus
like
Christ.
war criminal who kills his own people, right?
Right.
And they leave this paperwork on the printer. It was just like the signal chat all over again. It was just like, do they just don't care anymore, or are they just that stupid, or they just want people to know where these guys are? Maybe that's a thing. But like now all of us have the papers. I have the papers. I immediately screenshot all the papers of this itinerary and saved them, because I was like, this is probably going to disappear.
Right.
But yeah, just the treatment of Putin. Like he got everything that he wanted out of this meeting. This was
Of course
not
he
for
did.
Trump. This was Trump thought it was for Trump, and Trump got played, which, no shade. So I don't know. That was, yeah.
Right. A thing that has happened repeatedly, right? Trump getting
Mhm.
played by Putin is seriously like Lucy in the football in the Charlie Brown comic.
Yes.
Like, it just keeps happening over and over again, and Trump somehow still thinks he's winning. How?
Because it's like when you have a grandparent with dementia, and I can say this because I've had several grandparents with dementia, and you create this world around them that's like not real, but it's like their happy place, and you have conversations with them. They're like, "Hey, are you going to work today?" It's just to make someone safe and comfortable. I feel like he's in that world right now. He's just in this little kind of, not to say he has dementia, but he's just in this world where he's just creating this little safe, comfortable world around himself that doesn't actually exist. he's sort of going back to his childhood, and he's playing house, and you know, but he doesn't have a clue. He's leading our country, and basically every world leader who's devious is like, sweet, I'm going to come in and get what I want because he thinks he's winning, and so I'm just going to ask for this, and off I go. And
Yep.
poor Zelensky, I mean, he's just getting crushed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wrap us up, Ellie. So I know you're going to come back later and talk to us
Yeah,
more. And thank you. You've been
for sure.
so amazing for these last couple of hours. I have learned more about this case in one like fell swoop than I think I have in weeks now. Maybe kind of like wrap it up a little bit for us. Like, what do you think people should take away from this, or what can people do other than getting out there and screaming to release the files, or is that the thing that we all need to do?
I mean, yes, but you're going to make yourself crazy by doing that because they're going to release them when they want to release them. We need to recognize that much of the information is available to us. Of course, not all 100,000 pages that they have hidden is available to us. Flight logs are available to us. The black book is available. It's like there's literally searches you can do online, like search catalogs of the little black book, so you can see who is in there. They completely digitize the entire thing. Um, Remember to keep the stories that you're reading about the victims and not about the
Yes.
perpetrators.
Yeah.
I think we talk about, hold on, okay, 5 minutes, okay. He's hungry. We talk about Jeffrey Epstein all the time, but we forget to talk about like the Farmer sisters,
Yeah.
and we forget to talk about like all the Jane Does. I mean, there are many. Um, if you have a source, so something with Substack is they're playing catch up right now. I think they got inundated this year and they didn't expect it, and it's great, but they got inundated by independent journalism this year, and people are now using Substack as their source. So they're trying to play catch up with the tech with Substack. So it can be a little clunky sometimes. You don't always see what you need to see when you're in the comments or you're trying to find an article. What I would say, whether it's for me, whether it's for you guys, whether it's for Nick, for anybody that you like, if you like an article that they wrote, one or two articles, you feel like they're credible, you feel like they cite their sources really well, and you can go back and do your homework on them. Open up their Substack and find their other articles because they won't be in your feed anymore. They disappear. But if you click on their Substack and you click on their little writing Substack, you'll open it up and it will have every article they ever wrote. And you can go back and you can search topics. And if there's certain things that you want to learn about, like the Mossad, or you want to learn about Ghislaine Maxwell, you want to learn about whatever Trump stuff, like you'll find these articles, but they just aren't readily available in the feed anymore, and they kind of disappear. And so I'll have a lot of people going, oh wow, you wrote about Jeffrey Epstein's time at Harvard. I'd really love to know more about his family. And I can say, oh, okay, I have this article that I wrote, and I can lead them back to it, but they never would have seen it because once it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind, it's sort of gone for most people. So I would say if people are coming to Substack for their news, for their information, always do your homework. Make sure that the person you're reading from is credible. If you find mistakes, talk to the person. Like I always tell people, message me and say, hey, you made a mistake here. Or, hey, this source you cited doesn't work out. If they're open to that and they go, oh, cool, thank you so much, I'm going to go check that out, that's usually a good source. If someone ghosts you or says, no, you're wrong, get out of here, probably not a good source. You want people to be really checking what they write, but go find whatever that person is for you, go find their writing and go look into it and see what else they wrote, because generally there will be a lot of discussions like this or articles on things that happened at different times in this administration that you can go back. They're all still there, but they're just not, we don't see them anymore. I don't know. Yeah, Rachel is saying Ahud, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Ahud Barak. Yes, he does have ties to Epstein. He used to hang out at his house all the time, and he lived in the apartments on 66th Street in Manhattan that used to be Les Wexner. Now they are owned by Mark Epstein, and his ex-wife still lives there. So there you go. That's how he's connected.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Former prime minister. Yeah, there's pictures of him like hanging out on the sidewalk in front of Epstein's house in a big fur hat.
There's a detail.
Yep.
You know. Yeah, this is I always love it when you come on. Like it astounds me just how much you know about this case.
I'm
Like
a super
it's
nerd.
Well,
no 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 no.
like you've
I
been
think
saying,
it's
Ellie, how
Short
much is
story.
out there? How much information is already out there?
No, I have
like
scratched the surface. There's just
wow.
there's what I would recommend that I have not even gotten through. It's kind of like because I went through and I like did the whole big beautiful bill, and then I've done Project 2025 stuff. There's a lot of really complicated documents. Um, there's so many depositions that are publicly available
Mm,
about many cases pertaining to Ghislaine Maxwell, Donald Trump, and Jeffrey Epstein, and the combinations of them. And they're like the Virgin Islands sued Jeffrey Epstein because they were
wow.
like, "Wait, you didn't tell us you were having sex slaves here." They sued him. Like, there's a whole deposition about that. Like, there's many court cases. They're all PDFs online. You can read them all. You can read depositions with like their house cleaner that's like, I saw all these people coming in and he said they were 30 years old, but they looked like they were 12. Like, there's just all this stuff. And these people are all still just out walking around and they were just side by side with all this. But there is so much information that comes directly from the source of the people involved who were victimized. So they have nothing to hide other than like maybe they don't want to share their name, right? They want to be private, but like they want these people to go down for what they did. So they're not going to like hide the things that happened and they're very
Right.
specific. And then you have the people like who was it? The butler. There's all this weird stuff. Like one of the weird and I'll go, but like one of the weird comments when you're talking about interrogating people is when you talk to multiple people and they all share the same unique detail and then you know they're all telling the truth. And one of them is that Trump requires women to wear gloves when they're pleasing him. He makes them put gloves on.
Hmm.
And and so you had young women all saying he made me put on a pair of gloves before he had me do whatever I did to him. So that was the thing. And then you would have like this poor butler who worked for Epstein that his job was like to collect the dildos in a laundry basket and wash them. Like these are all in the depositions. Like they're very
World's
detailed.
worst job.
Worst job ever.
Right?
What?
But it's like this is because you read. I always say when you read these articles about Jeffrey Epstein, you flip through all these newspapers online. They're all roughly the same story over and over and over again. But these depositions and things, these are very specific details that people aren't writing about, and it's all out there. You just have to look at like Jeffrey Epstein court case or like the Ghislaine Maxwell court case is like a combination of like 8 court cases all in one PDF, and it's pictures and documents and interviews and on and on and on and on. And then you have all the civil cases where people were suing people for doing these terrible things, and so you have them like I think Virginia Giuffre's was a civil case against Ghislaine Maxwell. She comes in and she explains everything that happened to her with Ghislaine Maxwell. Like it's much more than you're reading in the newspapers. They're very specific witness testimony that is like a laundry basket full of dildos. Like, yeah. And that's
Right.
where
Or the consistency of all of those girls talking about gloves, right?
right,
Like that's a detail that you kind of can't fake that unless it's true.
right. Yes.
Ugh.
All
Ugh.
right.
Ellie, I know you got to go. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
Please come back and join
Yeah,
us.
I'll come
We're
hang out.
still here for 17 more hours.
Oh my gosh. Get some coffee. Get the good coffee.
Oh yeah, I had some old coffee.
Oh yeah, no,
That's
good
fun.
coffee.
Yeah,
I need to go brew a fresh pot, but
all right.
absolutely.
All right. I'll see you guys in a bit.
Thank you so much, Ellie.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Bye.
Ellie.
All right,
You got
I'm
another.
letting Ellie go. Frederick,
You,
thank you for being here, my friend.
you have another hour, right? Like you have another
I've
hour
got
on your clock.
one more
Yeah.
hour in my shift. I just want to make sure that we are thanking everybody for being here. Some
Yes.
quick stat updates. We are at like 510 people in this live, which is a record for me. Probably not for Frederick.
No, it actually, yeah, it is. It is.
Sweet. All right. We have got, let's see our latest numbers. 261 people have subscribed, and we've got 19 paid subscribers so far. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Like I said, we've
Seriously.
got 17 more hours to go. We are Banner and Backbone. I am Lawrence Winterman. Frederick, why don't you tell the people about you for a minute?
I am Frederick Pogue. I run a Substack called Missives from a Middle-Aged Man, and I was graced with meeting Lawrence Winterman and Dana Dubois. They actually, I think they said, like, you guys invited me, were gracious enough to invite me on Gen XE. When I barely knew what I was doing. Um, and like I would just yeah I first started writing. It's funny, I started my Substack in July of 2024. I wrote like half a draft and I said, nah, I can't write. And then it was after the election when Kamala lost. I was at Hotel Ziggy on a business trip on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles, and I could look it up at the Hollywood Hills from my room. It was by the Comedy Store in LA. All that burned down during the fires after I
Damn.
left. Right, so that was all gone. And I remember just feeling like this utter like horribleness. Right, like I was just like, it was just like, damn, man, I felt like this empty and you know. And so I wrote
What's up?
Morning in America uh, after the election, and then I just started writing. And I think my first live on here was after Schumer capitulated on that
Which
CR
time?
vote, and I was
I was
so
gonna say,
pissed. I was so pissed. I just said, "All right." I just went live and started ranting, you know. And then like I would make videos, and it was some took off, and then yeah, and then I got invited on Gen XC, and I met Lawrence, and then I got invited on. I just get invited places. That's kind of what happens, you know.
Well,
And then
because
I
people listen to you hold court when you do your lives. And the thing that I think shines through is here's a person of great knowledge who knows how to tell a motherfucking story.
I would hope
And
so.
I think most people see that and they're like, I want to get this guy on my live because I know that he is going to be able to talk for the entire hour and we will not be bored and we will
That's
learn
it.
something.
you mean
It's a,
out?
it's
Oh,
a,
you mean 4 hours?
it's
Or
yeah.
four.
Well, it's the Tennessee storyteller in me, because like I remember I was surrounded by gentlemen, like, and they would just start out telling a story. Like you didn't know where the hell it was going, right? You'd be sitting in a living room, and all of a sudden it's there. A friend of mine, Dave Calfee, his dad, Kent Calfee, he was one of the sane Republicans in Tennessee state legislature. He's retired now, right? I love Kent, great guy. And I'd be sitting with Kent, and Dave would go off and do something. I'm sitting with Kent. And he just says, "You doing all right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we good, Kent. How you doing?" "I'm pretty good." The thing about herding cattle, and he'd launch, right? He'd say, "Now you," and he would go like you. So you're sitting there just like, okay, about 30 minutes, and you go, and then he'd start from there, and you're like, "What damn point?" I'm enraptured, and he go, and that's why and that's why I'll never buy a Dodge truck. And, and you're like, how did I get here? But I'm enraptured. I've enjoyed the whole damn way of getting there. And so I kind of learned just from sitting at folks, and really just kind of spinning the yarn. And it's like, well, how do they make this interesting? And how do we kind of get back to it? And that's why I love people like Ellie, because she does kind of the same thing, where she dives into that really stuck. I mean, because I'm sorry, man. The moment I heard gloves, then he makes the young girls wear gloves. I'll be like, well, there goes the research. I'm done. I'm gonna go
Yep,
back to.
I'm out.
I'm
I'm
done.
out.
You know, it's he's a sicko. Well, how is he a sicko? Fred, just believe me now. Just
Right.
believe me. The man's a sicko. That's all
Yep.
you need to know. I don't need to. I ain't. You know, it's like, oh, there's old hen Charlie sitting in bars in Johnson City. Yeah, see, old hen Charlie. We from the same neck of the woods now. We from the same neck of the woods. We have the same stomping ground in Johnson City, Tennessee. You hear the twang come out a little bit because I'm getting tired, but we gonna make it. We gonna make it.
We gonna make it. We gonna
Oh
make it.
yeah.
Old man Charlie, she's dropped some knowledge on us several times.
Oh yeah.
And yeah.
You know, and that's the thing is like it's and if you're from East Tennessee, every time you hear wagon wheel, everybody expects you to shout it out. With Johnson City, Tennessee, and it's like, son, you calm down. I've lived there. I was there for 20 years. I don't need to shout. Ain't no need for shout. You know.
Mhm.
But Johnson City is a great place to grab a drink in, especially downtown. They got and I mean that's the thing. It is literally where you just go and get you a drink and and just sit there and well, you just tell a story. Or you'd be out in the field having a party, bonfire or something. Somebody has a bottle of
All right, all right.
Oh,
Hang on a second, storyteller.
bottle of
Hang on.
good stuff.
Nick has rejoined us. I want to make sure that Nick has a chance to reintroduce himself to the audience. We got some folks out here who are saying, "Who's that guy on the lower right?" Well, that is our friend Nick Perro. Nick,
Nicholas.
tell us about you.
Nicholas,
Hello. Hello.
you know,
I am Nick. Some of you know me, most of you know me. I'm Nick from Sick of This Shit with Nick and the Sick of This show that I like to talk, but I am also fucking mad. So if you don't know me, I'm a veteran who of plenty of fields, but I'm a veteran of the U.S. Army. I'm also a veteran of the tech community now, and I say that as I survived the tech community. It's a manosphere of destruction and hate and grossness. And
you
you
ain't
can ask
lying.
my wife all about it. It is the most incestuous place for um, patriarchy and destroying relationships because you are either fully committed as the person who's doing it, and if you have a spouse and kids, that spouse better be taking care of those kids all the time. And so
Yep.
I'm a survivor of the tech community. I've been on Substack now for about since before the election, but really, really on Substack since a month and a half ago when I lost my job. So this is my full-time job. So I won't plug myself for anything. Tonight. That's not for me, but please, please, please come support the Banner and Backbone Network tonight and give all your money that you're willing or have or want to, which is either $1 a month or $10 a year. Like that's all you got to do. Um, Send us a donation. I'll drop or send us a paid subscription. I'll drop the donation link here. Um, and it's important because it helps us get the word out and get bigger as a network, get the check mark for the network, as well as for me because I'll be hitting that best sellers list here soon with all of the paid subscriptions that we've been getting here tonight. You guys are fucking rocking it. What that does is it boosts us in the algorithm, but
Yep.
also it also gets us money to help donate to Epstein victims and the litigation around it and getting evidence out and demanding the release of the Epstein files. So if you donate, if you sign up today as a paid
Mhm.
subscriber through our subscriber link, you are going to help that donation effort. All proceeds from today are going towards that. So if you are in any of our live stream at any point, you click on our subscription link, and you subscribe today at all to Banner and Backbone, you're supporting getting the answers and the release of the Epstein files. We are not taking anything from this. This is for that. That's what we're doing for this, for to this subscription. So please join us. But about me, I just like to talk. I'm a pissed off dude who's been through a lot right now. I've gone through a lot of therapy and I'm really, really fucking mad about everything that's going on because there's so much shit, and it's ruining people's lives. It's ruining our lives. It's ruining my life. It fucking put me through years of therapy. Um, and I'm mad about it. And as a service member, or as a prior service member, as a veteran, I served in the U.S. Army. I was in the intelligence field and I did intel work. And I worked in a field that if I did one piece of what Donald Trump had done in his last presidency on the day he left with stealing information, I would be in jail for the rest of my life.
Yep.
I'd be in jail. I'd be in jail for the rest of my life. And no, no, I don't believe that that's okay. So I'm so fucking mad about all of this shit. And I got kids. I got kids who are affected by all of this, who are impacted because special education is a thing and it's important and it helps my children. And if you don't think it impacts your children, it fucking does. Because if you got an IEP or a 504, your kid is impacted by
Yep.
the Trump administration. If your kid is not on one of those, and oh, guess what? Now all these kids who have IEPs and 504s, those disappear. Your classroom gets disruptive because those kids don't have the tools they need to succeed, so they disrupt the class. And everybody else's learning and education goes down. So if you don't think this affects your kids, if you have them, it fucking does. If you don't think this affects you as a person in society, it fucking
Mhm.
does. You know why? Because a smarter society makes a better society. A
Mhm.
society that is educated, that is critically thinking, that is able to use the Socratic method, that asks the question why and how come and who does this impact other than me, makes a better world, makes a better democracy. And my parents taught me to ask those questions. My dad is a retired colonel from the US Army and taught me the truth and what the Constitution was about. He was a US history major, specifically revolutionary history. So I know what the US is about. I know where we came from as a country and I know where we are now, and it's not what we are. And so I wanted to make Banner and Backbone, and why we're here is because I wanted to fucking make Banner and Backbone with Lawrence and Fred and re-engage civics. Because civics has been lost in this country. Civics has been torn away from us in this country, and people believe that civics is some high-minded philosopher like Shane likes to say in a white robe, which by the way, we do need to do that show is the white robe philosophy show where we're all in togas and just sitting around discussing philosophy, but doing it really like absurd. Like you got like we'll be in togas, but I'll have a glass of whiskey in my hand in a non-matching, like very like not whiskey glass whiskey either. So like we're just gonna fuck with everybody. It's like
I'm
it's
going
the
to be the
meme where Gandalf is wishing you like
This is a very,
s-
very specific vision that you've got, Nick.
I have a vision. I have a vision.
or you're starting. It's starting to get into a kink, man. You know, and
Civics
I'm
is
just going
woke.
to tell you, I'm going to be a contrarian. I'm going to be the Kerouac. I'm the Beat Generation of that one. So, you know, as much as
Civics
I love to
is
quote the
woke.
Stoics, I like, you know, I'm pretty
Ooh,
much.
I don't have an Jizz mug yet,
No, we need Eagle Jizz
Rachel.
mugs.
I
That being
mean, you
said,
guys, the Eagle Jizz mugs are on the way. They are being shipped very, very soon. My co-founders, uh, brother Fred here, came up with this term, coined this term, Eagle Jizz, and and we had to turn it into merch. My little side
Of
hobby is
course. I mean,
create merch.
Eagle Jizz is designed to be merch. It's talking about merch. It's talking about, you know, the what is it? The flag speedos, you know, like the flag, the flag decals that are all over the back of the trucks, you know. Like
flying those fucking stupid ass, don't tread on me, but underneath it says daddy.
it's
And
Kid
it's
Rock
got
with
Daddy
his
Trump just fucking hanging out.
it's Kid Rock with his freaking flag, jacket, all this other crap. It's unnecessary patriotism. It's just eagle jizz. That's what it is. It's awful. Because literally, I mean, the ultimate form of eagle jizz, as Ellie Leonard just said, apparently Putin was supposed to get a golden eagle.
Apparently,
The biggest form of eagle jizz.
I mean, literal like eagle jizz, a gold plated eagle. For God's sake, are you kidding me? I mean, I'm assuming it's not solid gold, right? Like this isn't the Maltese Falcon or
God
something.
only knows. I mean, with Cheeto, I mean, he really wants to slob on that knob when it comes to Putin. So it could be solid gold.
Uh-oh, we're getting into late hours here, and so we're gonna go full Wizards Council and possibly get a little bit raucous and raunchy.
Oh,
Uh,
it's raucous. It's this is we're getting into after hours, right? And
Okay, so
I'm
before we get into the Wizards Council temporary, because we can shift to Magic, is at the top of the hour, we are going to be shifting over to another live stream that I'll be leading. I'm
yep.
saying that because it's important because originally it's scheduled with Fred and um Lawrence, but it's actually I'm going to be pulling in Ellie again. I'll
mm,
probably pull her in after, so it'll be the three of us at first, but afterwards it's going to be Tim Fullerton is coming on from the Find Out podcast with Ellie Leonard, our good friend who's been on for the last 2 hours, and they're gonna fucking talk with us. And they're gonna hang out. I bet Tim's got some questions. I've been wanting to have Tim ask some questions to Ellie and get them to meet each other because I want to see Ellie get onto the Find Out podcast for an interview because that would be cool as shit. And
yes.
I think if all of you at the top of the hour can shift over to my set of the live and help encourage Tim with all the hearts and all the love and the subs and the joins and the comments right off the bat, not performative eagle jizz, but real manly eagle jizz. Eagle
Mhm.
jizz.
Why do I feel like there needs to be a cologne as well?
Eagle jizz.
Right. Do
80%
you
of the time,
smell
it
Seriously,
eagle
works
there
100%
at
of the
least needs
time.
to be a moisturizer. I mean,
Ooh,
there
eagle jizz
has to be a
moisturizer.
moisturizer.
When
If
your face needs to feel like cream.
Yes, excellent.
Or
you know,
Eagle Jizz Hair Gel. Be a man. Hide the Epstein files.
Hey, can I do like a one of our housekeeping things here? So we've got
yes.
somebody in the audience named Cash Flow Collective. I've been looking at his profile trying to figure out if this dude is legit. He's hit me up in the DMs. Apparently, has some kind of case file about a Jane Doe case against Trump and Epstein from 2016.
Mm.
Let me be clear about something. We are just three dudes. We are very patriotic. We're reclaiming American patriotism from the right wing manosphere. We three are not investigative journalists. If
No,
you have some kind of breaking news piece of information about the Epstein case, this is not the place to deliver that information. I don't want to do a Dan Rather thing where somebody sends us a fake piece of information and we don't know how to, like, I don't know how to investigate that correctly to verify it.
Nope.
I'm not publishing your information. If you've got legit information, please call the New York Times or talk to Ellie Leonard, who was just on
I was
this
about to say
show.
we
Yeah,
just had the real one
We
on.
yeah. Talk to
literally
Ellie
had an
Leonard.
investigative
And
journalist
if
on
you've
with
got
Yeah,
us.
if you've got real information, open up your Substack, publish it, and tag Ellie so that she can then read it.
Hell
yeah.
yeah.
Don't
Don't
even DM her. Don't DM her. I
Right.
encourage
Don't
you
DM.
to not DM her. In fact, I highly encourage you not to just randomly DM her. Just like you
publish it.
shouldn't randomly DM any of us unless you have said, reached out, or been or put in creative. I understand some of you don't want to put art out. Or stuff out. That's what I'm not what I'm saying. If you're going to reach out in DMs though and spam us, we'll kick you out and we'll block you. Cashflow Collective, I know you are one of my subscribers, and I have not had you have this problem with me. So if you are doing this with a real story, please bring it to publish it on Substack, and tag Ellie in it publicly.
I got the same thing from somebody else, and I was just like, no.
Yeah,
So
people
but
should
I get
know.
stuff like that. So I'm like,
I got an itchy trigger finger when it comes to blocking people from our chats. I will block your motherfucking ass on violation number one. And Cash, I didn't do it to you because I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt. But Nick is exactly right. Like, don't DM us with shit like this. Like, we have an objective here that we are trying to accomplish. If you've got real breaking news, we are not the people to publish that for you. Like, God bless you for thinking that we had that kind of power. We have been live for 5 hours so far. We are not the droids you're looking for, at least not yet.
and listen, I mean,
Yeah,
look, man, we can get
eagle
raucous, and that's
jizz.
fine. Like I
Don't be sorry, sketchy fellow, about eagle jizz. We call eagle jizz out when eagle jizz happens.
because the thing is, look, I'll tell you right now, I get DMs all the time. People share like articles and stuff with me, and and that's nice. It really is. But I mean, the things that if you really want me to respond is money and marriage proposals, the two M's, M&M's, is the money and the marriage proposals. I'll respond to all of them. You know, I mean, I'll always accept the money.
Right, right. And
Like, yeah,
just to be clear, Frederick's talking to the ladies here for the marriage proposals.
oh, hang on, hang on, hang on.
Hang
When I
on.
message him, he just
Whoa, whoa,
ignored
whoa,
that. He
whoa,
ignored that
whoa,
DM
Whoa.
right
whoa. I
quick.
mean, with
Oh,
the
what he's
men
saying,
now.
Lawrence, is you ain't his type.
Well, no, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying with the men now, it's
That's
just
fine.
money has to be involved. I mean, lots of money.
Oh, all
Oh,
right.
you want to be a stay at home. You want a sugar daddy.
I want to be kept man. I want to be a
Well,
kept
man,
man. You
my
know.
see, here's the thing too. Like my wife and I talk about this is when one of us, if one of us were to die early, the only acceptable person that we should go marry is someone older and richer than us so that we can be taken care of because we deserve it. Like we both know that we each deserve to be taken care of for the rest of our lives after we're dead. So go find that sugar mama or sugar daddy and let them take care of you. Go take a break, man. I want to be a kept man. I love
I,
it.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't
That
complain about that.
that is a slogan.
Listen, man. I'm gonna tell you right now. Is like that probably ain't gonna happen because I ain't gonna keep my ass caps. Like I'll just tell you right now. I'm gonna
Yeah,
be,
yeah.
I mean, no. But you can say like hey, like my old barber used to say, 2 weeks to send money. I mean, you can send me money. You know,
We
like
got
I'll take the
Melissa
money.
Corrigan in the chat. We happy. Hey, we saying
Yes.
hi to you, Fred.
Right.
Well, 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 she's got a hubby though. Like
Yeah, we
she,
know.
I mean, it's like,
Freddie,
she's
don't do
taking.
that. Freddie, don't do that.
No, no, no. We don't go after no married woman. That's
No.
listen, man. It being from the South, whew, there's many a murder ballads done been written about that kind of thing. That's
Yep.
just something you don't want to get into. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Which
You
is
don't want
funny
to get
because the
into it.
South has one of the highest rates of like adultery and
It don't mean
misconduct for
people listen
marriages.
to it. It don't mean listen, man.
They don't
They got
listen
the
to their own
highest.
songs, but they write them.
Right. That I mean, they got the churches. It don't mean people actually, listen to the lessons and the sermons that are in the damn churches. You know, like somebody once told me, I said, because I asked them, I said, well, how come all these people go to church, but they don't seem to follow Jesus? He's like, well, why do you think Jesus made the church? He's like, because it's for these fools to hopefully sink in their head, you know, and that's what we're doing. That's why we talk, and that's why we eventually roll around from the foolishness to civics, because eventually it might sink in, you know. It might sink in. That's why we're on here because we care about democracy. We're tired of it being covered in eagle jizz. You
Yeah.
know, eventually we want the warm washcloth of equality to wash away the eagle jizz.
Wash away.
Wash away.
Wash
It's
away
gonna
the eagle
wash it
jizz.
away. Yes. And restore that gleam to our American democracy. Wipe it
Mm.
clean from the eagle jizz.
You know,
Wipe away the eagle jizz,
that's it.
de-stickify, take out that orange glob, and just wash it into the past.
Lady Liberty does not deserve to sleep in the wet spot.
Oh my God, you
Lady
are right.
Liberty
You are
deserves to
right.
be free of eagle jizz.
Mm,
Unless
yeah,
unless it's consensual, and that's what she's into. I mean, you know.
yeah. Beth is
Yes.
saying eagle jizz damages your car. Just say that's right. You got to wash
Mm-hmm.
that shit off before it peels the paint off.
It'll break your paint down. It'll go through your window. It's like the blood. It's like the blood from the aliens. When you
Hmm.
kill aliens, the xenomorphs, sorry, from the Alien series, with Sigourney Weaver, beautiful woman. I love Sigourney Weaver. She was always my crush when I was growing up. Like,
If you're a sci-fi guy, of
mhm,
course.
of course, Sigourney Weaver, just amazing. Anyway, back to what we're talking. Aliens. Eagle jizz is like the blood of the aliens. It melts
It's
through
acidic.
shit. It's acidic. It's gross. It gets on stuff and you can't get it off because it melts into you and it eats away at your soul.
Right. Don't get no
Don't
eagle
get
jizz on
eagle
that
jizz all
Liberty
over you.
Bell.
No, hell no.
No, don't
Hit
let
it.
that Liberty Bell get that eagle jizz. They're already putting a
No.
giant dick onto the fucking White House and turning it into a ballroom.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Why
Yep.
have a ballroom when you have no balls?
Yes.
You know, I'm telling you, man, it's listen, it's
Mm.
disheartening to hear all that, right? When you come in and you see the Eagle Jizz has just spread everywhere and it's everything. But you have to grab the sock of liberty and, the balled up t shirt of democracy and
Hmm.
just kind of wipe them down, and you pull Lady Liberty out. You say, baby, you ain't gonna sleep in the wet spot. You come over right
Right.
here.
Right. The
I'll
thrice
sleep in the wet
used
spot.
Kleenex of
I'll
of
sleep in the
freedom.
wet spot, baby.
The
You
Kleenex of
know,
freedom.
and she's like, she's like, you're not calling an Uber? No, baby girl, we can cuddle, but I mean, she gonna be the big spoon now because it's Lady Liberty, you got to be careful because she got them pointy things on the crown. And, if you, anyway, it's logistics, but that's my point. We got to stop all this eagle jizz foolishness, you know.
Los Gatos
We
in
do.
Madrid says, I imagine that eagle jizz smells like Bradford pear trees when they bloom. I Gatos, I knew exactly what you meant as soon as you
Oof,
said it. Those trees
oof,
smell like cum. That
oof.
is like,
Mm.
what in
That's
the
a
world is
strong
going on
smell.
there?
Somebody knew. Somebody like designed that tree too and was like, this is the smell I want at flowering. Because you can design that shit with like bioengineering. Like they're good at that stuff. They could make it smell different. But no, but no, they
No,
chose
no,
that.
no, no. Eagle jizz is kind of like, it's, imagine using a dirty baby diaper as a coffee filter. You know, that's what it is.
Oof.
You know, it's
Oof.
like, but it ain't the good coffee now. It's one of them off weird color, one of them weird, kind of flavors. You know what I mean? Like, hibiscus morning or some shit.
I,
You
I,
know,
I think if you're using a dirty baby diaper as a coffee filter, it don't matter if you're using the good coffee. I
and
mean,
then
at that
somebody
point,
and then somebody to freaking, kind of, oh my god, I gotta cut down on the smell now. And then they pop open one of them candles, one of them scented candles, and it's just like, well, hey baby, what's a scented candle? And it's like hot cars sitting outside at the airport for 2 weeks with with the fast food still left in it. You're like, dear God, why would you do that?
yeah, don't
Why
do
would you
that.
mix it?
Oh
The
man.
smell. It's the smell of the Seattle Pike Place Fish Market after closing on a hot Friday in the middle of summer and sandalwood.
Right. It's
I'm
the
telling you.
it's the produce drawer in a bachelor's refrigerator after
It
16
It's
months.
the back of the freezer, or it's the back of
Yeah,
the sock drawer in the bachelor's apartment that hasn't been touched in 2 years.
I mean, come
it's
on now. We all know that that sock drawer would be empty because the bachelor used up all the socks and they've been lying on the
I
floor.
didn't
It
say it
just
was a sock in the back of the drawer. I
it's
just
it,
said it
it
was in
I'm
the
telling you
back of
now,
the drawer.
it's swamp ass on a hot leather seat in July in Louisiana. That's
I
what
mean,
it is.
okay,
It's
but
You
the
know,
Swamp Ass?
it's the
Because
saint of
is it
it's
Jason
the
Kelsey
scent of
Swamp Ass? Because
taint
that's
in
a
the
whole
morning.
different equation.
no, no, don't go there. Don't go
No,
there,
it's the
Lord.
scent of taint in
Don't
the
go there.
morning. It's the scent of taint in the morning next to Ted Cruz, who looks like a ball sack, who's a
Yeah.
big old
Okay.
testicle, who hangs around and he's soft and weak. And you squeeze him a little hard, he'll get crushed, and he
Oh
likes to hang
no.
around a giant orange asshole. But he's the taint in the mix, and all you have to do is just jab him real hard, and maybe he'll fucking go away.
You know what
I
it
hate
is? You
Ted
know what?
Cruz, by
I
the way.
got it.
Fuck that dude.
I got it. I got it. Nick will appreciate it. It is the whiff of the change in the breeze when you wake up on a moist, humid morning
Mm,
after being in the
moist.
field for 6 days, and your battle buddy's got his trowel dropped, and
Mm.
that breeze rolls across them nether loins, and then
Whoop.
that smell hits you as you wake up in the morning. You're like, "Oh dear God, what
That
is it?" You know.
it's the smell of Godzilla's dick.
Yes.
Is that is the smell. That is, imagine that smell. That would be the smell of a Marine waking up 6 days. I wasn't a Marine, but the smell of a Marine, Frederick was, it was 6 days in the field,
Oh
Godzilla's
Lord.
dick. That is your
I mean,
that is your
that
freedom
is
right
some
there. That smells
rightness.
like freedom.
Whew, that's some rightness you can't even. I mean, it'll scar your
What even
brain forever.
smells worse is a month when they turn off your fucking showers in Afghanistan,
Oh God.
and
Oh
the
God.
closest shower you got is 3/4 of a mile away, and every other hour you're getting fucking rocket launches at you in a place called, affectionately known as Rocket City. So the 4th of July is not fun for me, and you don't shower during that time. And oh, by the way, they closed our fucking DFAC, which is the chow hall, so they stopped giving us food 2 months before we left, and we subsided on MREs and first strikes. And
Oh,
Fred, have you
Ugh.
ever had a first strike?
Ugh.
okay, guys. We've been named and shamed in the chat.
What?
DJ Roberts says these three guys after 24 hours live on air. That is funny as fuck and very cruel.
Hey,
I mean, but it's
just wait.
deserved. It's
If come
deserved.
here,
It is
come here
deserved.
at
It is
if
deserved.
come
BJ
back
wins
at
the chat.
11 a.m.
Oh yeah.
No,
Oh
come
yeah.
back by if you're still here with us by noon tomorrow, Eastern time, you'll be on the last hour where we're gonna be tired as shit, and it's gonna be amazing, and we're gonna
Oh
be
yeah.
wizard counseling the hell out of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We'll just be like, "Have you ever?" Yeah. It'll be God only knows what we'll be saying.
Epstein. Ooh. I wanted to, before we get too far, because it's that time, because I'm going to plug it anyways, because I want to. We already plugged a little bit. Please donate to Banner and Backbone and become a paid subscriber because of all the awesome things that we're offering, and all the money is going towards the donations for Epstein related victims and pro democracy efforts. Is we have a new slogan that we are introducing, which I figured out the pronunciation for,
Ooh.
and it's in Latin. It is divulgare fa, fash, sorry, fash. Jesus, it's so weird to try and pronunciate words that you're like not used to.
Fasciculum. Fasciculum.
No, fasciculos. So divulgare fasciculos is demand the release of. So divulgare fasciculos Epstein. Demand the release of the Epstein files is our new slogan that you'll start seeing. So look out for when Banner and Backbone signs off with DFE for divulgare fasciculos.
Right. It's basically going to be like our
That's the
SPQR.
classical Latin pronunciation, I believe. I'm looking at the AI thing, and I might be doing it wrong too. I'm not a linguist. I just know
And God
English
knows,
and really bad French.
God knows that AI is probably making some shit up. They're just like,
Yeah.
yeah, sounds fine.
Right.
You
AI's
know,
laughing at us right now.
Yeah.
it
AI's like,
is.
that's not how you fucking say it. These fucking idiots.
It's like, yeah, it's fucking Daewoo freaking, whatever. It's like, I don't think freaking is part of Latin, bro. And it's like,
The
it's
woo
like, no,
fuck
no, it
you.
is. It's fruit. It's the root of fricularum. It's like, I think
And
he's
if we
making shit up.
say it wrong, we might accidentally summon a demon, which at this point, if I could summon Cthulhu and fucking have him like he have to like do a favor for me, can he like release the Epstein files?
You want to know what's messed up?
That's all
Is
I want.
I,
I just want him to release the damn Epstein files. Because guess what? When all of that shit comes out, all of them come tumbling down, and this house of cards begins to collapse.
what's messed up is I had Latin in high school, and unfortunately, there was
Mhm.
a sentence in my Latin book that I still remember to this day because, my 15-year-old brain thought it was the funniest thing in the world, or 14.
Mm.
You know what? You want to know what it is? And it kind of, oof, it's bad, especially since
Yep,
we're talking about the Epstein
you've
files.
gone this far.
No, no, no,
You've gone
but
this
especially
far.
since it's parva puella sunt bone. And you know what that means?
Nope.
Small girls are good.
Eesh.
Frederick.
I don't.
That was in my Latin book. What do you and the professor and the teacher's like, what that's saying, class, is little girls are well behaved. It's like, yeah, but I didn't put it in
That's
there.
not what it says.
That
Right.
yeah, it's Parwa Puella Simpone, and I remember that like 33 years later because
Right.
all
It's
of
not
us
like you
snipping little
memorized it.
jackasses are like, small girls are good. So
Dumbass
anyway,
Hey,
release the
teenage
friends, this
Epstein
just
boys.
goes to
files.
show
Release
that,
the Epstein files.
right, pedophilia and misogyny have been baked into human culture for thousands and thousands of years.
I'm just
And
like,
you know
I
what?
Fuck
was
the
like,
patriarchy.
You know
as
what?
soon as, as
I
soon as
want
you
to
brought
talk
up the
about that for a second. Hold on. Hold on. I want to talk about that because Ellie made a really, really good point earlier on when she was on earlier. She's going to be back with us in a little over 20 minutes. We're going to be moving over to a new live in about 20 minutes that I'll be hosting. We're going to have Tim Fullerton on with us as well and Ellie Leonard again. But Ellie just said something earlier that fits in with all this misogyny bullshit is the only one who's really gotten in trouble in a substantial way is Ghislaine Maxwell,
yeah,
and she's a woman. And they're trying to blame the errors on all of this on Pam Bondi. I'm not standing up for either one of those two women. They're terrible human beings. They're doing terrible fucking shitty fucking things. But why only the women? Like
I I think
men
we know the
who
answer to that
are,
question.
yeah,
I think
I mean,
every woman on this chat
rhetorical.
knows the answer to that question.
Every person on this chat knows the answer to that rhetorical question is why
sure.
only the women. And but I'll give you the answer. It's because the patriarchy.
Right.
Because all of this is due to men who have too much power, who have never had the word no said in front of them. It's worse than misogyny, Rachel. Even it really is like misogyny only really is just the basic. This is like baked into the psyche of
Human culture.
human culture in too many ways, is that men need to dominate for some reason and we don't. And really, the foundations of human society and culture are based around our females and our women in our lives. Because the most important people to most of us, I bet you if you ask most men, who's the most important woman in your life, they're going to say their mom or their wife. But most
Yeah.
men will say at least their mom.
And
That doesn't sound very patriarchal to me. That sounds pretty matriarchal to me. And guess what, guys? We've had 250 years leading this country and we haven't done a good job at it. It's time to hand it off. Not because that's sexist, not because I think women are the only ones who can do it. I think there are plenty of men who have the capability to lead really, really, really well and really compassionately and really, really progressively.
And can I
But
just
I
throw in here?
think,
I'm gonna channel my inner Melissa Corrigan for a moment, and
yeah,
Melissa, tell me if I get this right or not.
yeah,
You don't need to have a woman, important woman in your life to be a feminist and to defend the rights of women. Like, it's not just because you love your wife or you've got daughters. You
hmm
should be a feminist and you should defend the rights of women and you should be for equality because it's the right fucking thing to do, bro. That's it.
bro.
That's the full
Yep,
concept.
yeah,
Support women's
absolutely.
equality because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it doesn't make you a feminist to support women's equality. It makes you a humanist. It makes you someone who values human life and sanctity and bodily autonomy just in general.
Yep.
Because guess what? If you want it for yourself, it also, oh, hear me out to all the Christians out there, because I'm not Christian, but all the Christians out there who pretend to be Christian and call themselves good Christians, it makes you really Christian. It makes you very Jesus-like to love thy neighbor and be accepting and care for them as thyself and not commit adultery and, do all the good things and care and feed the poor and clothe the sick and care for them. It's way more Christian to do that shit than what you're doing now.
Absolutely. And you know what, Nick? You have coined a term for us, anti-constitution, right?
Oh,
Anti-constitutional.
anti-constitutional.
And I wrote an article about human sovereignty, and which we're going to publish soon. And in that, I talk about anti-human, right? That what
hmm
we're seeing out of this administration, and like what we're seeing from Netanyahu and Israel in Gaza, is anti-human behavior. Like anything at this point that is so far against the Constitution and so far against the expansion of rights in a free democracy isn't just bad for the country. It's literally bad for people. It's bad for humans. The Trump policy on immigration is anti-human. If you're rounding
hmm
people up and putting them into camps where they potentially can die, that's
And you
anti-human. If you
concentrate them into one area.
right, if you are concentrating them into camps where death is a prominent feature, that you're anti-human. Like I don't know how you can make it more basic than that. Like, are you on the side of humanity or are you not?
I
hmm
think one of the things that you know when we talked to Shane earlier, and he mentioned the allegory of the cave, right? Plato
hmm
wrote like the five. Well, Plato wrote the five dialogues. He wrote about Socrates, and we talked about philosophy a lot. The thing is, if what it really boils down to this is two things: is one, what is truth, and two, what does it mean to be a good person? That's really it. And so the thing is, if these things that you're saying about women on they have diminished capacity, they need protectors and providers, all this misogynistic shit, right? Then that should just be true on its face. There shouldn't so if there's the need for all this oppression and there's the need for all this patriarchy, this system that's been set up, right? In order to keep women there. Because they should not if they should naturally do this, but over and over again, they don't. So if you're falling for this, it's self delusion, it's self deception. Why? You have to ask yourself why. Why are you falling for this? Why are you letting these people lie to you? What does that
hmm
say about you as a man? Right?
Or as a
That
or as a woman.
right? What does that say about what does that say that you're willing to accept men in power, women in power abuse children, starve children, or hurt people. What does that say about you? And some people are going to be like, well, whatever, blah, blah. It's like, and not until it affects them. But I mean, these are the central questions that I asked myself when I kind of, went to this is like, hey, this is what people are telling me. And this is what I'm seeing. And they're not matching up. And when it comes to that, you have a choice to make, really. And that's why we're doing this, is to give you that other perspective of saying, listen, this is what the elites are telling you. This is what the patriarchy's telling you. This is what the oligarchy's telling you. But this is reality, right? Your
Hmm.
politics have to be based in that. They have to be based in reality, and they have to be based in ethics. Otherwise, what good are they? You
Right.
know? Because if you think they're self-serving, if you think you're going to get something from being a white male, and you're gonna, white, cisgendered, heterosexual, Christian male, white supremacy, Christian national, blah 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 blah, and you think you're gonna be spared, oh brother, have I got news for
Hmm.
you? I've said this in other videos. You ain't in the club. I ain't in the club.
Nope.
I am a legit Southern, cisgendered, heteronormative, white man. The only thing I don't have anymore is Christian. I am not in the club. I'm not.
Nope.
They'll
Neither am I.
sell me out as soon as it's convenient. Just like a corporate job firing me the moment that it ain't profitable to keep me around no more.
Yeah. So Melissa Corrigan again. Melissa, I'm going to quote you again. Melissa wrote a great article the other day about how a lot of the traders on Wall Street are freaking out because they're realizing with the elimination of like legit Bureau of Labor Statistics data, they are no longer going to be able to get their algorithms to do the kind of trading that they want to do with the correct triggers with the correct data, and they're realizing, oh fuck, we voted for this dude and we are not in the protected class. We are
Nope.
not in the group of people who get access to the real numbers. Like we will get screwed because we won't be able to do any of the like high end rug pull insider trading shit that we're used to.
Because that's what
Yeah.
fascism does. Fascism, that top class gets narrower and narrower.
Yep.
It's a
Because
smaller and smaller circle every single time.
that
Complete
is
over and over, over and over again. It gets smaller and smaller, smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Hey, I got an idea.
mm,
Let's hear it.
Um, do we want to, well, one, we just passed the 600 mark
Woo
of folks
woo.
in the live. Hell fucking yeah, everybody. Do we want to do something nuts though and switch over to our other live for now? And
Lawrence is
Yeah.
driving, so it's up to him.
Yeah. Yo, I got no problem with that. I mean,
that
let's
way we
let's.
can get people switched over. We can get people start
I
back
love
in.
it.
And
Yeah.
then
Let's
we're going to
let's
be pulling on soon after
Is
Tim
Is
Fullerton.
Melissa available? Is Melissa like?
Oh yeah, Melissa, you want to jump on for 15 little bit before we pull Ellie back on and before Tim Fullerton comes in and we'll
Yeah,
start.
because y'all, I could use a bio break and some dinner. So,
Yeah, let's give Lauren some time off and
and
I'm going to start mine.
let's
So
acknowledge
everybody,
let's acknowledge for like we have been at this for nearly eight
I'm going
hours
to drop.
now, and we have got 282 subscribers. We have got 22 paid subscribers. This is amazing. We've got 500 people here in this live. This is incredible. Thank you, everybody. We are going
Seriously,
to
yeah,
shut this live down and we are going to jump over to join Nick in his live right now. Thank
yeah.
you,
Please,
everybody.
everybody, head over to Nick. There you go.
Thank you.
Mm-mm.
Oh,